kind of choice to make at the quarterback position. Do you go heavy price but less of a risk, or do you try to do the whole? I don't know. You don't want to do the backup thing.
No. We've seen what an elite arm and decision maker can do for our offense.
Sure.
Get one into that spot, please, if you're going to go continue with the transfer portal route. If you can't develop one, go buy one.
It's pricey. It's very pricey. And I think that the concern is you can't build a Miami-esque offensive line if you're shelling out like $6 million for Josh Hoover. So the other thing right now, I don't know if people have paid attention. I think they have. We have no wide receivers coming back from last year. You have to go out there and get like 2001 Miami's wide receiving core, but you've got to have at least a couple of playmakers out there at that position, and we've got none. The only returning producer from this past season who had eligibility remaining was Trayshawn Hurry, and we found out that he was hitting the portal yesterday. So you've got to go build an entirely new wide receiving core. You are, I think, more than likely going to have to go out there and get a couple of running backs. It's nice to have Jamaris Wilder back. It's nice to have Braxton Jennings back. We're bringing in Lakai Tompkins. I think that that's a good trio, but you don't really have a established alpha there unless, of course, you bring back Keywan Brown. If you're bringing back Keywan Brown, I mean, I feel like you're bringing him back to be the starter. And he's been a career backup who I think wants to be a starter somewhere. I think that's part of the issue. I think he's also going to demand a pretty high price tag as well. They've got a lot of decisions to make, and I don't think that a ton of those decisions have been made. Now, they already have a handful of visits set up. The transfer center from Pitt, Lyndon Cooper. You've got to replace Pete Niagara. They really like him. I think that there's a strong chance that they're going to go heavy on him. They've also, I think, are getting a visit from Georgia Southern has an offensive lineman that's going to visit. And as far as the wide receiver position is concerned, they've got a visit lined up with Iverson Hooks from UAB. UAB wide receiver transfers have worked out pretty well for us so far. He's more of the Colin Lacey mold, 5'10", 175 pounds, 72 catches for 927 yards and 7 scores this past season. He's getting a lot of attention. He's already going to visit Louisville. So they very clearly had some guys that they have identified for several weeks that they are looking at and are going to, I think, put the full court press on over these next 3 days. They want to have the key pieces in place as early as possible. Getting Clev solidified was a big deal. There are a couple of other defensive players that I think they're hoping to have solidified over the next 24 hours, and then the portal visits will start. I know that it's tough to be like everything's going to be fine when you've got this many key players in the portal and you've got this many spots to fill, but buckle up. We're going to find out whether or not it's fine over the next week or so. They know who they're going after. I think they've got the money to go after most of these guys. I can't wait to see how it plays out. I'm terrified, but I'm excited, Roman. That's life in the portal era. We're always terrified, but we can always be excited. Let's take a break. When we come back, couple other football thoughts to get to, and then we'll look ahead to tonight's game against Stanford on the basketball side of things, and also talk a little bit about the win over Cal on Tuesday night since we haven't had a chance to do that. It's the Mike Rutherford Show, the first show of 2026 here on 1450 and 96.1 Big X Sports Radio. 96.1 Big X Sports Radio. We are back on YouTube, although you can't see me. It looks like, because of the way that the cameras are positioned, it looks like it's Ghost Mike. Because you can hear me, and you got the camera works on the other mic in here, but it's just a picture of a microphone in an empty chair. So it does kind of look like Roman is producing some sort of ghost Mike Rutherford show, which I think is kind of a cool feel.
I'm really struggling here with it.
What do you mean?
I can't get the camera to work.
Is it because it's turned? No, that's the other one.
Is the light on to it?
The red light that's always on is always on.
There's no red light. It's a white light.
Well, there's a red light on the one that's on the computer.
No, not that one.
The other one?
Yeah.
No, there's no light on it there. I don't know what's going on. Can we blame TJ for this? Scoots, damn it. What's wrong with you? Regardless, we are back. We are on YouTube. You can listen to on terrestrial radio or whatever as well. Tune into WBNA Channel 21. I think I guess the cameras don't work there either because it's the YouTube. We're talking about Louisville sports here. Be happy with what you get. We're going to be fine. We dropped some bombs there. Not some bombs, but some knowledge on the football side of things in the first segment. We've also got our guy Scott on the YouTube chat. Ghost Mike and Facebook ads from 2 weeks ago. The YouTube stream is going strong, baby. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Everything's fine. We're good to go. We're kicking off the New Year's in style. That's who we are. That's what we do. We'll talk a little basketball here in just a second. But really quickly, Roman, wild-ass quarterfinals in the college football playoff. We now have, I think that Indiana is the only, Indiana and Oregon was a widely projected semifinal. The other semifinal, I don't think that anybody who projects this sort of thing had, with Ole Miss without a head coach and still apparently not sure how many of their assistants are going to coach in the semifinal or join the staff at LSU, taking on the Cinderella Miami Hurricanes now. Kind of a wild quarterfinal. Let me see if I can adjust the camera here. Okay, that works. There we go. No. All right, there we go. Now I'm looking good. Now you see me.
There we go.
Just place me right over yourself. Don't do that. Place me. Yeah, okay. There we go. Now we're looking good. Now we're feeling good. Let me ask you this. Between Miami beating Ohio State, Ole Miss beating Georgia without a head coach, and Indiana just hammering Alabama, which of those things was the most surprising?
It's still Alabama. As much as I really did believe Georgia would win that game, Alabama, I thought, would lose, but not lose like that. I did not think they would get humiliated from start to finish.
No. It's Alabama, for God's sake. Like, this is really testing the limits of our sports mind's ability to process things, right? Because I don't care. I know Indiana, everything about their statistical profile says they've been the best team in college football from start to finish this season. I'm still conditioned to be like, yeah, but it's Indiana. It's a cool story, but at some point, they're going to come back down to earth. I don't care that everybody can pay players now. I don't care that they've got money because they're in the Big Ten. It's Indiana, for God's sake. They just kicked the absolute you-know-what out of, like, the program in college football for 4 full quarters yesterday. And it was one of those where, like, I kept watching the game. If it was Alabama beating the hell out of Indiana, I've got no interest in watching that in the second half. I'm like, yeah, it's. I know they were the 1 seed, but of course the Cinderella, the clock hits midnight, they turn back into a pumpkin. We probably should have seen this coming. But when it's Indiana just running it up on Alabama, I want to watch that. I kept watching basically the entire second half. And then Ole Miss doing what it did to Georgia, especially after falling behind 21-12 and having all the momentum on the dog side after the scoop and score touchdown. I was remarkably impressed by that. I thought Trinidad Chambliss he was just throwing dots all over the field when they needed him the most. They were really good. If one SEC team had to overachieve in this playoff, I'm glad that it's Ole Miss because they're a fun story. You've got this happening while Kim Mulkey is bringing out Lane Kiffin at an LSU home women's basketball game, and he's acting like this conquering hero, and his team is just kind of like, yeah, we don't really need a head coach. We're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Let's go. I think that's a cool story. And then how about the ACC, Roman? How about that ACC? You know, some programs are built to beat teams like Miami. Other lesser programs, they can't get it done against the Hurricanes. Some teams know how to limit the production of Ruben Bain. Other teams just get dominated by the best defensive player in college football. Football. I think the playoff creates additional problems for college football, like all the opt-outs, the bowl games not meaning as much, all that stuff is clearly a problem created in large part because of the college football playoff. The playoff itself, clearly viewed as being on a different plane than everybody else in college football. And two of them got beat. How many years when you had the 4-team playoff or the BCS national title game would we have had teams that justifiably were, like, we thought they were the two best, one of the two best, or one of the four best, who would have been beaten in the same type of situation? I don't know. I love that we're making these teams earn it more. I love that we're making them play more games, and I love that the SEC is kind of making an ass out of itself in its first couple years in this new CFP. I think this is great for the sport. They've got a lot of things to figure out outside of it, but the playoff itself is great. Am I wrong?
It's amazing. I think it makes it more exciting for all fans in the neutral aspect, and then I think it's just better for the schools as well. I mean, I don't think you can even deny that. There's more schools and an opportunity to shine, an opportunity to create greatness for themselves.
It is remarkable that
when they showed that graphic of like playoff appearances for the teams that are left, or like Oregon, Indiana, first, never, all these different teams, they've never been here before, and it's because they have the opportunity now.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana's obviously never won a national title. Oregon hasn't won a national title. Ole Miss has been kind of an also-ran program in the SEC for as long as I can remember. Miami, we've been asking, is the U back for 20 years now? They finally are. I mean, Miami or Ole Miss is going to play for the national championship. And I think that's cool. It draws me in a little bit more. I know Ohio State fans are pissed off about it, but I think the playoff, despite having a couple of non-competitive games in the quarterfinals, has been great. It's been great theater, great song. I'm glad that the Friday night game, the standalone game, was very entertaining. I'm also glad that Ohio State lost. I thought that was fun. I loved watching some Ohio State fans melt down. That was always enjoyable. Bama fans melting down last night was another little icing on the cake. It's been great. Now we just got to get our program to be a part of it. good thing is we've still been in playoff contention deep into the season all 3 of those years, including when it was just a 4-team playoff in Jeff's first season. Now, granted, we were probably not going to get in the top 4, but we could still talk about being 11-1 and being 12-1 and winning a conference championship and having a rightful argument. 2 years ago, we still had a shot to make the ACC title game once November rolled around. This year, we were 8-1 once November rolled around, and we have not gotten it done. But we haven't lost interest early on in the season. Next year, things may be a little bit different. You open the season against Ole Miss. If you lose that game, your backs sort of are up against the wall, and at that point, there's no real hope of getting an at-large bid. The focus is probably just on trying to win the ACC. If you lose a couple games early on in the ACC and we don't know what our schedule is going to look like, then, yeah, you're up against it. People are saying terrible things about Jeff Brom, and everyone's kind of wondering what the hell is going on with the program. That's the risk you run when you play competitive games in September now, and that's the way it looks like our schedule is probably going to be for the next at least 4 years. Let's talk. Do you have anything to add to this before we move on to hoops, Roman?
No, I'm on the same page as you with all of it. He has a job cut out in front of him.
Let's talk a little basketball. Before we get into tonight's game against Stanford, Tuesday night against California, we had the late scratch of Michael Brown. Kason Pryor, we knew was not going to play in that game. I think there was a little bit of concerns, like, ooh, can we do this? Cal's, their statistical profile is pretty good. The computers hate them, but they got a gaudy record. We're playing them on the road. We're 0-2 in road games.
Roadkill.
Leave them by the side of the road and just keep driving. I mean, this was a beatdown from start to finish. I'm gonna go. I don't want to go overboard. I think a lot of people just kind of moved on from this game. And they were like, good performance, great. This was one of those games I feel a lot better about our team. Not even a lot better. I already felt good about our team. This was a big night for them in my eyes when it comes to taking those continued steps forward, where hopefully our final destination is as a legitimate national title contender once March rolls around. I was wildly impressed by how we played outside of like 3 or 4 minutes on Tuesday night. I don't think Cal is a world beater.
I knew that they kind of were, the computers were giving them a lot of credit.
Well, the computers weren't giving them credit.
They weren't?
That was the thing. The computers hated Cal. The numbers said they're 12-1 with a win over UCLA and no bad losses.
Were they still pretty high in the net, though?
They were 48th, which is, they're getting votes in the AP poll. The AP poll said they should have been like 33rd, 34th. They were 48th in the net. They were 61st on Ken Palm. They were 66th on Bart Torvik.
There were moments in that game they didn't even look like an ACC team.
No. I still think that they can at least flirt with an NCAA tournament. If they go like 11-7, 12-6 in the ACC, with having no bad non-conference losses and a really good non-conference win over UCLA, the right combination of wins can get them on the bubble. But this was very much a game, and I tweeted it out, where we very clearly had been through some battles, some early season battles. We got our ass handed to us a couple of times. We won a handful of those battles. They played 10 bye games at home. They played Utah, who's not very good. They played one true road game, and it was against Kansas State, and they lost a 3-point game. Like, they weren't ready for this. And it felt good to be on the other side of that, where we came in, we smacked them, and they never really got their feet back underneath them. I know they made that little run with like 4 or 5 minutes left to get it down to 11. But this was very much we're 20 points better than you, and we're doing this without our star point guard. I mean, that was my primary takeaway. We can talk about individuals in a second. What was your primary takeaway from this 90-70 beatdown?
Kind of how balanced of a game we played without our point guard. Finding ways to still get the ball inside, going through your sets. Just quick little actions where the ball's able to get into the paint, kicking it out. I think that you kind of found matchups that you liked out there and you were able to exploit them. Just doing all little paying attention to detail things that you've got to do as a coach without your best ball handler out on the floor. And you kind of felt like the sense of everybody's game kind of growing a bit in this game to me. Everybody looks like they were a little bit more confident in this kind of a game. I don't know if it's the pregame speech or if it's just at this point in their season already, they've already gotten better and have grown as a team. They looked like it finally. And that felt good, right? Each player kind of doing things that you had question marks on their ability to do. They were doing them well, I felt like, for the most part. So still a couple of moments that I would have liked it to be a little bit better. But
Sure.
ultimately, when you get a lead like that, I'm not going to complain at all. And you know that it's not going to be perfect or pretty once you do get to that lead. So it's felt good to see Isaac McNeely really show that range. I feel like right now is the time that if we are going to be able to rely on him, he has to start getting comfortable now. He has to start getting those looks, getting them up, and seeing them go down now. And it felt good to see those deep Isaac McNeely type threes go in. So that was kind of one of the smaller takeaways, but the major takeaways just seeing like everybody go out there and look like they knew what their job was.
Yeah. We talked about it on Tuesday's show. Their perimeter defensive numbers were really good. And I said, I think that that's just having watched them a little bit. I think that that's kind of fraudulent. I think that that's more of a byproduct of them playing the teams that they've played than it is them being a really good defensive team. And I think we saw that bear out on Tuesday night. We got basically whatever we wanted on offense, and that's without Michael Brown Jr. Isaac got great looks. Sananda got very little pushback down low. He came out and scored the game's first 2 points. Ryan Conwell got good looks. Adrian Woolley, man. You don't talk about a guy that's coming around. And I know we all discussed the same thing when it was first rumored that Michael was dealing with a back issue. This could be a good thing for Woolley, was kind of the primary takeaway. He's making the most of it. 21 points, 9 of 14 from the field, hit 3 of 7 threes, did a lot of good things around the rim, was very good defensively, played a large part in slowing down Day-Day Ames, did a good job on Justin Pippen when he was on him as well. Like, we knew that they shot the three well, and we held them to 35% shooting, which I think was good. And if you go back and watch it, a lot of those shots were just bad shots by Cal. Just heavily challenged, heavily contested shots that they didn't need to take. We came out. We understood our assignment. You're always a little bit worried about that first game before and after Christmas, or that last game before Christmas, that first game after Christmas, just where players' heads are. We were fully locked in, and we were right from the jump, even though we didn't see the first 3 minutes because stupid ACC network staggered tip times. We were ready to go, and we took it to them, and they never really stabilized. I was remarkably impressed by how well we played in this game. I think that was one where you're like, all right, like, we got something for the rest of the ACC. Let's get this thing going. Now, Michael, according to Jeff Goodman, is unlikely to play again tonight.
How worried about that are we?
I think we're worried. This will be, 5 games now?
Yes,
4 games?
But in like 4 weeks?
Yeah, and I think we'd be less worried if we didn't have the reports that he was a full go in practice. And look, I understand that this has become the secondary issue after the Cal game. You know, people are talking about us winning by 20, but now it's become a whole thing about the way that Kelsey's handling injury questions. You know, how bad is the injury? This is life in 2025, 2026, right? Like, this is what you're going to have to deal with. And I understand people hear, when you hear Michael Brown is a full go at practice, and you see him listed as probable for the game 24 hours before it's being played, and you see him warming up before the game, and then bam, right before the game, he's not going to play. It's going to open the door to a lot of questions. There's a very similar thing. I'm not necessarily saying that the situations are similar. I'm saying the questions are similar. The Darren Peterson thing in Kansas is becoming a big deal. And it's become a bigger deal because Bill Self has essentially come out in the media and said, look, he's letting us know when he's going to be able to play. This isn't, it used to be back in the day, trainer would clear a kid, we'd tell him, all right, you're good to go, and they're playing the game. Now, with college basketball being essentially a professional sport, it's like the NBA for a lot of these kids. And again, I'm not necessarily saying that that's exactly what's happening with Michael Brown, but, you know, when John Morant's dealing with an injury, Roman, John Morant doesn't come back on the court until John Morant says he's good to go, right? Or John Morant's people say he's good to go. And I think you're going to start seeing a little bit of that in college where trainers may say, I think he's good enough to play. I think he can give it a go. And the player or the people around the player are like, okay, well, we're playing it safe. We've got a big career to look after. We're not going to play in this game. And I don't know if that's exactly what's happening here. Anybody who's saying that the back injury is just a total made-up thing, that's wrong. You can see, go back and watch the Memphis game. He's hitting the Theragun. He's hitting the massager on his back every time he goes to the bench. He's been dealing with back spasms in that lower region for several weeks. It's very much a real injury. The question is it enough of an injury that it's the sole reason that he's staying out of these games? Regardless, it sounds like he's not going to play tonight. We should be able to take care of Stanford, I think, without him. If we play the same way that we did Tuesday night, that shouldn't be a concern. The spread's about the same as it was for that game on Tuesday. I think the big question now is if he's making his return and playing for the first time in about a month against Duke, that's
a tough game to come back.
It's a tough game to come back against. Duke is a very good defensive team. They've got some dudes that will hound him. And if there's rust, you'd love for that rust to be kicked off against Stanford and not against Duke in what could be the biggest game of the season, considering we get them at home and we've got to go play them on the road 3 weeks later. What's your take on this whole thing with Michael?
I mean, I'm a bit worried about it. I don't like the necessarily seeming like that they're taking the unclear approach on purpose because they don't seem to know, I guess.
Pat seems a little pissed off.
Say that. Say you don't know. I mean, you're not trying to upset anybody, but telling the truth shouldn't upset anybody. That you don't know when he's going to be back because you're waiting to be told. If that's the case, then say that, for one. But for two, I mean, I'm not going to let that be an issue. I'm going to let the fact that he's missed this many games, the team's kind of adjusting their play, everybody's seeming to get on the same page a little bit more, and you're missing your highest usage player through all of that. And the player who, I'm not necessarily saying had the most issues, but still has the most to learn. He's the freshman. He's the one still learning how to play college basketball. He's the one that's played against the Duke-type teams the least. I mean, I guess Adrian Woolley hasn't really either, but you need him against the Duke team, and you need him playing his best ball, and you also, you need him at his full capacity. Say he's go out there, he doesn't look rusty at all, but he's the first player that needs a break, and he's not tired. He's not able to give you the same amount of minutes at full speed because he's missed, 3.5 weeks? I mean, he's back in practice, but it's still not the same thing as going up and down the court against the opposition that's trying to knock you down. I don't like it. I'm worried about it. You know the kind of defensive prowess Duke has. You need your ball handler. You need your key guy because that is what allows Ryan Conwell to go out there and get an efficient 20 points. That's what allows Adrian Woolley and Isaac McNeely to get these open looks from closeouts and whatnot. So, I mean, I'm worried, but ultimately I do think he's a pro. Pros figure it out. So I'm going to trust that his pathway and the way that he's being approached by the people around him is for the positive and rather than just trying to save their lottery pick.
I mean, it's relatively straightforward, I think. If it's a serious back injury and that's all it is, it's concerning. If it's not a serious back injury and there's more to it, that's also concerning. Like any way you slice it, Louisville needs Michael Brown to hit its ceiling and to have the best chance of making a deep run in the NCAA tournament. And while that can all be right, we're still 2 months away from March. There's a lot of time between now and then. As far as resume building is concerned, you've got a big 2.5 weeks coming up here where you get 2 shots at Duke. You get North Carolina coming to your place. You get, it very much is another front-loaded ACC schedule. SMU is going to play here at the Yum Center at the end of the month. We're going to play Virginia on January 13th. You've got, I think without question, the 2 best teams in the ACC besides yourself, and then maybe the 3rd best team in the ACC besides yourself on your schedule over the next 3 weeks. We need Michael, and we need him fully locked in and fully healthy. I think I don't get concerned when it comes to the kid himself. I think if it was all things equal, he'd play even if he was not 100%. But times have changed. Sometimes you have people around you that can outrank you, I guess, when it comes to these types of decisions, if that is, in fact, what's going on here. Hopefully, we're all surprised and he sees the court tonight. I don't think it's going to happen, so it becomes, hopefully, he has no rust next Tuesday when the Duke Blue Devils come to town for a pretty gigantic showdown. The good news is we look pretty good without him on Tuesday. Hopefully, we look pretty good without him again tonight. We'll talk a little Stanford after the break, and then we'll turn things over to you guys in the Game Day Men's Health text line at 502-414-1450. Send in your thoughts there. We'll get to it in hour number 2, which is up here after the break. It's the Mike Rutherford Show, 1450, 96.1, Big X Sports Radio.
We stay fly, no lie, and you know this.
Pratt Sporting Goods is Southern Indiana's team sports specialist and is your local Adidas team product dealer. Pratt specializes in outfitting your team, organization, club, or business in apparel, hard goods, and accessories from Adidas and many others. Kratz offers fundraising opportunities for your team, organization, or club through online web stores. Let our friendly staff get you started today by calling 812-282-5400 or visit and shop at our website at kratzsports.com.
The Stripe Out makes its return to the KFC Yum Center on January 6th as Louisville men's basketball hosts Duke. Fans sitting in an even section wear red and
outside, it's like showbiz. We stay fly, no lie, and you know this.
Hour number 2 of the Friday edition of the Mike Rutherford Show. Happy New Year. 1450, 96.1 Big X Sports Radio. How long do you think you can say Happy New Year? It's always a question. Like, at what point? I mean, we're still within our rights to say Happy New Year now on the 2nd, right?
Of course.
When does that expire? Do you have like a week?
January 16th.
16th is too late, I think.
15th, maybe.
I was going to say like 10th. I think that's the point where I'm like, all right, we're established. We're 10 days in. We're good to go.
I feel like it's like one of those things that if you haven't seen someone yet and they're kind of close family, if you see them in the next 2 weeks, they're still going to say it.
I think, that's a good point. I'm kind of with you there. By the way, happy early birthday to my wife, who will celebrate tomorrow, so we won't be able to say it on air. So we're getting that out of the way now. Happy birthday, Mary. Have a fun night planned. Ready to go.
Today's her birthday?
Tomorrow.
Oh,
tomorrow. So saying it now because we won't be on the air tomorrow, but very happy birthday to her. Unfortunately, she's got a bad birthday. Just overshadowed by Christmas and New Year's, but we still make the most of it. We're going to have fun. It's going to be a good
after,
night.
not before.
Yeah, I think that's right. She had kind of a I feel like her birthday was fun in college. Granted, I didn't know her very well in college, but you got to celebrate like first weekend back after winter break, and people are excited to have that first weekend where you're seeing everybody for the first time. I think it's a good birthday then, but growing up, it sucks. Everyone tries to rope into Christmas and birthday presents together. It's just always going to be overshadowed. Nobody really wants to go out that much after you've done all the holiday celebrating right after New Year's. It's a tough one, but she's persisted. She's a warrior, Roman. She's very strong. Louisville take it on Stanford tonight at 8:00 on the ACC Network. We mentioned this on Tuesday's show. Last season, 9 ACC teams made the West Coast trip out there to play Cal and Stanford in back-to-back games. Only one of them came back home with 2 victories, and it was Wake Forest. Pulled it off last year. We can do it tonight with a win over Stanford. Actually, Notre Dame can also do it if they beat Cal tonight because they knocked off Stanford on Tuesday. But it is no small feat. I think these are 2 games that Louisville should win, even without Michael Brown. It's still a commendable achievement if you're able to come back to the Midwest or the South or whatever the hell Louisville is with 2 wins over Cali teams after traveling all the way out there. Especially, I think both these teams are a little bit better than they were a year ago. Cal certainly is. Stanford, the jury's still out. So let's talk about the Cardinal a little bit right now. Stanford, I mean, I don't know what to make of this team that much. I think they'll be a bottom half of the ACC type team. They have a good record at 11-3, but a closer look, kind of like Cal, reveals some serious warts. They don't have the key win that Cal did, but they do have a couple of bad losses, which Cal did not have. Stanford lost to Seattle at home back on November 21st. They also lost at home to UNLV. Josh Pastner's out there just making plays on December 7th. Their only other loss was Tuesday against Notre Dame. And Roman, I'm sure you've seen this, but did you see the score of that game on Tuesday?
No, I didn't.
47-40.
What?
I read the Notre Dame, one of their writers, after this, and he just came out and said it was the worst basketball game that I've ever watched in my entire life. Stanford and Notre Dame, just a complete battle of anemia. Like, just neither one of them doing anything remotely well. Stanford's been a decent offensive team so far this season. In that game, they were 4 of 30 from 3, and they were 13 of 56 from the field. That's 23% and 13% from those 2 spots.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, they only had 6 turnovers. You'd think, like, oh, they're just giving the ball away. No, they took 56 shots and scored 40 points. Outrageously bad performance from them. That's what they're coming off of. They've got, I mean, the conversation about Stanford, it begins and ends with one guy, and it's Abuka Okori, who, it's kind of crazy that we're talking about this being the year of the freshman in college basketball and how great is the class of 2025. This guy doesn't get talked about a lot nationally. He's a true freshman point guard who is the 11th leading scorer in all of college basketball and the 3rd leading freshman scorer. The only 2 freshmen who are scoring more than he is right now are Cameron Boozer and A.J. DeBonsa. He's averaging 21.5 points per game. I don't know if you've had a chance to see him at all.
Yeah, I've seen some clips.
This kid can hoop, man.
He can. He kind of do it all, too.
He is I don't know how he ended up being, he's 119 in the final class rankings on 24/7 Sports. You watch him play. This is not he's scoring 35 points against Portland or stuff like that. He's got a legitimate bag. He is a very, very, very skilled player. He set a new freshman scoring record at Stanford with 32 points against Colorado a couple of weeks ago, and then followed that up with 30 in their win over Cal State Northridge. The game he played against Notre Dame on Tuesday was the first time this season where he's been held to single digits in scoring. He only had 7 points. He was 3 of 14 from the field, 0 of 6 from 3. He scores at all 3 levels. He gets to the free throw line a ton. This is going to be another game where Louisville's got to guard well without fouling. Hopefully they don't have the same officials as Tuesday night. But he took 21 free throws in the game against Colorado. He's taken 10 or more free throws 5 times this season. He shoots the 3 well. He's great off the bounce. He finishes very well with either hand. He's not the best defensive player in the world.
He's kind of like a 6'2" Michael almost.
I think so. I don't think that comparison is terrible.
He takes deep threes, but he'll sometimes make some.
he gambles a lot defensively, gets a lot of steals, but is also prone to getting beat off the bounce.
I think they're asking him to gamble.
I think that's kind of that's what their defense is. They force a lot of turnovers. They rebound very well defensively. They also foul a lot. Like this could be another game where we're shooting a lot of free throws. It's an 8 o'clock tip-off. This one might not be over until like 10:30. But, Roman, this kid, he's a legitimate issue for us tonight. He's very, very good.
He is, but I feel like this is the perfect kind of like Ryan Conwell and Adrian Woolley about to show you that it ain't sweet in ACC play.
It's all, from a defensive standpoint.
Yes.
You almost like having more Woolley, less Michael in this game.
Yes. Because I think that they've got this, like, he's really good at getting by his man through contact.
Yes.
Like, we're going to bump shoulders, but I'm going to stay in my path of the direction I want to go in because I have the speed advantage. And he's not, for being a small guy, he's pretty strong. Woolley and Conwell, that's kind of their best defensive attribute on ball as defender. They're not going to rip you. They're not going to take your cookies at midcourt. I mean, Woolley might. He has the wingspan if you're going to dribble crazy, but their ability is not giving up any inches when you choose to put that basketball into the perimeter at all. And when he goes about doing that on these kinds of guys, they're not going to give up anything easy. Now, if it's one of those games where he does that and immediately rises for a jump shot and gets the foul call 3 or 4 times in the game, and now he has the referee's whistle in his back pocket because he's that kind of player, he asked the contact to come because he wants to get to the free throw line and he also trusts his shot-making ability. Now that could be tough, right? Because then we're only trying to really put those 2 defenders on him. If one of them gets in foul trouble, we could be looking at a situation where he's able to do more than we'd like. If we defend him without fouling, I like Woolley on him. I even like Conwell on him.
I do too. I think that you're fine with him scoring a decent amount of points as long as he's using a lot of possessions to get there.
A lot of dribbles to do so as well.
He's going to shoot it a ton. There's no question about that. Like, he is
keep him 40% or under. I think you're asking.
He's option 1, 2, and 3 for them offensively so far this season. Now, he will create good looks for. He doesn't share the ball a ton. He leads them in assists, but he's definitely a scorer, first, second, and third type guard. The one thing that we have to avoid doing, teams will just leave. They've got a little like Benny Geeler, who looks just like a guy whose name should be Benny Geeler. He's I think their best pure shooter. And a lot of times teams will just leave him alone on the perimeter because they're so focused on slowing down Corey.
And not trusting he'll make that pass.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can't leave him alone on the perimeter. He's not a huge threat off the bounce. He's another small guard. This is a overall pretty small team, which is crazy when you consider how big Stanford was a year ago. Geeler can play. They've got we're facing another Okpara. Chisholm Okpara is their power forward. He's a very good player, rock solid. He can shoot the 3. I think sometimes he settles for the outside shot a little bit too much from someone who's 6'8", 240. He's their best interior defender, but they don't have a lot of good size. Last year, they had Maxime Renaud. They lost him.
They had a kid on the bench, though, who was the same size as him.
They brought in the A.J. Rahosi kid, who's 6'9". He averages about 9 points and 6 rebounds. He's not overly skilled. He's not done a lot against the best teams on their schedule. Kyle Smith loves recruiting D2 and D3 guys. His philosophy is sort of, we want a couple of portal guys, but we are going to rely on roster retention, player development, and to do that, we'll take a couple of D2, D3 guys that we feel like can play at this level. They brought back more production from last season than any team in the ACC, which is why it's sort of weird that their offensive numbers have dipped so significantly. Now, they brought back a lot, but they also did lose 2 of their top 3 scorers from last year's team, including an NBA guy in Renaud. Where's he play? Is he playing in the NBA right now?
Yes, he's a Sacramento King.
Is he like getting minutes?
Yeah, like starting.
Is he?
Some games, yes.
Good for him.
I hit him for 8 rebounds last night.
Oh, nice.
Not last night, a few nights ago.
Nice. Okpara came back after last year. He played 2 seasons at Harvard. This is his 2nd season with Stanford. He's now a starter. He plays very well. Their bench guys are all just kind of dudes. Jeremy Dent-Smith is another guy who's a D2 All-American. I think he's actually pretty good, but he's in a huge shooting slump right now. He's played terribly for them the last 3 games. And then Ryan Garwal was a guy that shoots. He basically is a guy that just is a sniper, wants to shoot out, step outside and shoot threes. He played well against us last year in both games. Good enough defensive player, kind of an annoying guy, just pesky defensively. but they don't pound for pound, I think, have the talent that California did. But I do think they're a little bit better coached and their system's a little bit better. But I like our ability to minimize what they do well, even as a team that gave us some fits in that second game in the ACC tournament a season ago. I think we should get the looks that we want to get. Now, it's an interesting contrast of styles, Roman. They did this really well last year. They're doing it well again now. They don't want teams to shoot threes. We've played a lot of teams that are like, we're playing no middle defense. We want to force you to take
We're going to run you off the line and let you get to the paint, basically.
That's what they do. Most teams we've played this year that have been good defensively are like, we're fine with you taking threes. We just want you to take challenge threes that are too deep and heavily contested, and then we're going to clean up on the defensive glass. Stanford allows fewer threes than all but 11 teams in college basketball, and they did a good job at running us off the line last year. This is going to, that's one area where I think you really wish you had Michael tonight, because he's our best playmaker off the bounce. We're going to need Ryan Conwell getting to the bucket. We're going to need Adrian Woolley to get to the bucket. And we're going to need Sananda Frew to assert some dominance down low, because they don't have a really good interior defensive presence. I think we can beat them in the paint. We beat up Cal in the paint pretty well. We're going to have to do the same thing against Stanford. But
who was the leading scorer in that game last year for us? Was it Chucky?
Which one?
Against Stanford in the regular season.
In the regular season? We played them pretty late. We played them in back-to-back games because we played them in the
yeah, it was the last game of the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, we beat them 68-48 in the regular season. Our leading scorer, Chucky and Terrence both had 16.
And then in the tournament, ACC tournament,
I think it was, I want to say it was Terrence.
It was a closer game, right?
Yeah, Terrence had 25. Chucky had 20. Yeah, that was the game we beat him at the buzzer with Chucky.
And they excelled. Both of those guys found a lot of those points in the mid-range in that game.
Yeah, you look at the numbers. We took 22 threes in the regular season game and then 23 threes in the tournament game. Both of those games were well below our, not well below, but below our average when it came to three-point attempts. We found a way to beat them in the paint. We found a way. We turned them over enough. We got good looks, and we finished at the rim. And our big guys also played pretty well in those games. We're going to do the same thing tonight. Now, you kind of alluded to this earlier, they gamble a ton defensively. They are very good at forcing turnovers. They are right now turning teams over on 21.2% of possessions. That's 29th best in the country. They're a very good rebounding team. They
play the passing lanes really well.
They do. They jump everything, though.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though, is that if you connect on those passes, the person catching the ball is typically not going to have a closeout.
It's why their shooting percentage defense numbers are bad. Like they're allowing teams to shoot high percentages despite playing a pretty easy schedule so far. And a lot of that is because they're feast or famine defensively. Yeah. Like they're jumping passing lanes, they're reaching in on-ball defensive situations, and they're giving up a lot of easy looks because of that. I trust our guards without Michael to handle that well.
And Pat, the guys, to know that that's what's coming as well.
We're always well schooled. We're always well prepared. They also foul a lot. They fouled us a lot in those two games last season. Hopefully they foul us a lot again in this game. And hopefully we have officials that are going to call fouls on both sides, because Tuesday night was a absolute abortion of an officiating performance from that squad. But that's what you're getting with Stanford. Their defensive numbers are way better than their offensive numbers so far this season. I trust us to keep Akori from beating us single-handedly. We've done pretty well against Stars so far this season, including against Ames on Tuesday night. Is there anything that stands out to you as a fear in this game?
Just the one kid that can light it up. Gear, I forgot how you pronounce it.
Akori?
Yeah. No, the other guard that they've got, the shooter.
Oh, Benny Geeler.
He's the kind of kid that I feel like against a team like this, going up against us, I wouldn't be surprised that we're staying a little bit half body length farther away than we need to, and he gets a few more open looks than we'd like. Hopefully they zone in on him, and just when he's on the floor, you don't let him breathe. Outside of that, there's not really too many worries from
that. Feels like an Isaac assignment to me.
It
where
does.
It's like, hey, man, you stand there right with this guy. He's a 45% three-point shooter. He's a 95% free throw shooter.
He's not taking you off the bounce.
He shouldn't. No. Like Isaac, you handle that. We're going to put Adrian Woolley's going to be on Akori. We're going to put Ryan Conwell and Dent Smith or Agarwal, whoever's out there. You stay with Benny Geeler. You're sticking to him. You're not leaving him. We don't need you to help out on penetration. don't let this kid catch and shoot. That's what I'm saying going into this game.
Yep.
All right, let's go back to the text line, or go to the text line for the first time today. 502-414-1450 is the Game Day Men's Health text line. Game Day Men's Health, redefining men's wellness. No shortcuts, just results. Testosterone, peptides, weight loss, and sexual performance therapy, plus more. All at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Start your new year the right way. Start your new year with Game Day Men's Health. Texter says, I'm currently driving up to Palo Alto from L.A. for the game tonight. Look at you. I've probably been to close to 100 Louisville basketball games in my life, including the 2013 Final Four and championship, but this will be my first ever true road game. There were only about 3,000 in attendance at Maples Pavilion for Stanford Notre Dame on Tuesday night, so it won't be hard to get drunk and make a difference. Go Cards. Yeah, yell something during the game. I'm sure we'll be able to hear you. Yell Roman sucks at some point during the game, and I'm sure we'll be able to hear you. You could hear the Louisville fans on Tuesday night, and that was a decently full arena or pavilion. They're all pavilions out on the West Coast. It was a decently full pavilion against Cal, and you still could hear the U of L fans that were in attendance. I'm assuming it'll be the same tonight. Stanford's not going to – they're not showing out for Stanford hoops for a winter break game against – even if it's against a top 15 team. I love that. We're going to have a fan in attendance tonight. Texture says, Pat Kelsey came off as a massive crybaby when asked about the injury report. If he can't handle questions like that, then this will turn into Chris Mack 2.0 if things go south at any point during his tenure. This is the guy that's super negative. And what did you think of the handling? Everyone seems to have an opinion on this. What did you think of the handling of Pat Kelsey's response to the injury questions?
A little bit unnecessary, but I also understand where he's coming from as someone that's probably he's probably in the dark a bit.
One, can we all agree the question has to be asked, right, from Brooks Holton of the Courier?
Yeah.
You've got to ask about what's the deal with Michael. We ask if a key player is not healthy. Hell, if a support player is not healthy, that question has to be asked, and it always has been around here. Anybody who's saying that, like Brooks Holton, he's not doing his job. And plus, if Holton doesn't ask that question, you get just as large a chunk of the fan base who's like, what's up with the media not asking? Like, I get stuff all the time, like the media just won't ask these questions. And then when you do ask, you get half the people who are like, how dare he? You've got to ask the question. If Kelsey doesn't want to answer it, he's under no obligation to answer it. It does come off, like he came off as pissed off to me when he asked that question. And I do think it's because he's not fully in control of this the way that I'm sure he has been his entire career. He's far from the only college coach who's dealing with something like this now. But I think he's probably expected Michael to play in that game on Tuesday, and then he went through warm-ups and I guess wasn't good enough to go, and I think that was probably a little bit of a surprise to Kelsey as well. And I think now he's just kind of like, I don't want to deal with it. And I think, he's right when he talks about the injury reports that they have to put out there being about gambling. They are. Jim Phillips has acknowledged it. It's about gambling. That's why we're doing the injury report stuff now in both football and men's basketball in the league. And it certainly added to the speculation. It added to the unrest amongst the fan base that Michael Brown was listed as probable 24 hours before this game and then ended up not just playing sparingly, but not playing at all. Like, I don't think there was any gamesmanship or anything like that. I think that Louisville thought he was going to play, and then he wasn't able to give it a go. Could he have handled it a little bit more diplomatically? Sure. I didn't love the response. I didn't think that it was great. But I've always said, I'm not – if he feels like we don't need to know things and it gives them even a mild edge to withhold information, I'm fine with that. I don't need to know. Would I love to know everything? Sure, everybody would. I think he probably could have handled it a little bit better. If you just want to go out there and say, I can't discuss injuries, I don't know anything, we're taking it day by day, and then moved on, I think that would have been just fine. But he chose a different route, and a lot of people had things to say about it. Texture says, say something, anything, true or untrue, to make us feel better about football, Mike. I need some positivity. I feel like the whole "we're a basketball school" phrase is bullspit. That ended with Teddy in the Orange Bowl. The whole fan base expectations changed that year. I mean, I think we certainly are more into football than we were 30 years ago. I still think if you ask the rest of the country to identify schools as basketball or football schools, Louisville is seen rightfully so as a basketball school. Same with Kentucky, same with Kansas, same with Duke, despite having some success in football over the years. I mean, I think they found a way to increase the NIL budget. I think that you're going to see, like, they're taking a different approach to the season than they have in years past. And if you missed the first segment, I'll say it again. They are going to invest in the trenches in a way that we've never seen before. At least that's the plan.
About time.
I mean, you say that, there's going to be a significant portion of the fan base that I think gets upset because big-time quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, those move the needle, right? Like when you see those portal additions, those are the ones that are getting a million retweets and people are going crazy for. If you have a similar...
The best trenches get you to the playoff.
Right, but like nobody cares when you land a really good offensive guard. Nobody's going to be like, hell yeah. Like, we can say that, but the average fan isn't going to react to that news the same way that they would to bringing in like a, Josh Hoover or a running back among the caliber of Isaac Brown and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so we're going to be having a lot of, I think, portal additions that don't really move the needle with the fan base. And people are going to be like, where are the exciting players? Where are we going here? And maybe none of this leads to better football next season, and everyone's just pissed off from start to finish for the next 12 months. Maybe it winds up paying off hugely. The fact of the matter is we don't know, but I think you're going to have a lot of people that are pressing the panic button after the next couple of weeks based on what we get in the portal. I think you'll have some fun pieces, but the trenches aren't fun, Roman. It's why when you draft like a really good left tackle in the NFL, your fan base is like, all right, like we needed this, but it's not nearly as fun.
It'll be fun
as a new
when all
quarterback.
three quarterbacks you have are averaging over 6 or 7 yards a carry because your offensive line is one of the best in the nation.
That's the hope.
Or when your team is leading its conference in sacks because it's got one of the best defensive lines in the nation.
What did you make of Mason Mims in the portal? We've now lost 3 scholarship quarterbacks to the portal. Brady Allen, not a shock. I think Deuce Adams, not a shock once you saw that we were going for a new starter in the portal. But Mason Mims, true freshman, said, I'm good after just 1 year here.
I'm not surprised, really. I mean, I think that he understands that he's probably gotten to understand the timeline for him. And, I mean, you're a young guy. You've got to go do what you think's best to earn yourself a better spot to make more money or to play more, to get into a spot where you're at a school like Louisville, except you're the guy. Probably you drop down a little bit, go show that you can play elite level college football, and then another school comes calling that's back at this level, and now you're playing and making more money. You're not going to do that sitting on the bench for 2, maybe even 3 years. So it's tough just because it's another person that you wanted to be excited about, another player that you felt like if he could learn the system, that's a player that is at a position that we have people in the coaching staff that are prone to making better, right? We think or believe. So now that's one less young quarterback that has the opportunity to be a Brom quarterback, which is tough. I don't know if he was good enough to ever become that anyway.
I've said it on the show. I think multiple people have said it on the show. There was kind of a sense that this was Deuce Adams' year to audition behind the scenes for the starting job in 2026. And then when that didn't work out, the buzz from the program was kind of, well, Briggs Cherry is the next guy that we could see developing into a quarterback that we could hand the reins to in a couple of years. There wasn't that chatter with Mason Mims. Not saying that he can't develop into being a power conference caliber quarterback, but they were more excited about Briggs. I'm sure whether that was communicated directly to him, he had to have at least felt that or maybe heard it from somebody else, and that probably pushed him. There was just a whole lot of – there was never any, like, this could be the guy talk behind the scenes with Mims. I think they were excited about him when he signed, but maybe didn't quite fit the bill as much as they hope Briggs Cherry is. Now, you're going to have to go out there. You're probably going to have to go get a quarterback from the portal to also be like a depth at this point. We're knucking and bucking already. I wasn't ready for it. Here we go. We'll come back. We'll talk more about this after the break. We'll take more texts. Continue to get you ready for tonight's game against Stanford. It's the Mike Rutherford Show. Game day edition here on 1450 96.1 Big X Sports Radio. want these cards. Stanford next up for the Louisville men's basketball team. It is game night. 4 hours away from tip-off in Palo Alto. Louisville taking on the Cardinal. U of L currently an 8.5-point favorite on DraftKings. Is that what you're seeing, Roman? About 8.5 somewhere?
At last look, yes. I haven't seen it in a few hours, though.
It's interesting because 8.5 was also the spread for the Cal game. Now
Still
that
8.5.
Now that was, I think, 8.5. But when we thought that Michael Brown was playing, I don't know if it. Yeah, we didn't find out that he wasn't playing until just before tip-off.
Folks are assuming now.
Yeah, maybe it went up. I think everyone's assuming that he's not going to play in this game. But Stanford, on paper, not nearly, I think, as threatening as Cal is. The style, maybe, I don't know. But hopefully Louisville can go out there tonight and take care of business without their star freshman point guard in a similar fashion the way that they played on Tuesday night. We don't have to win by 20, but let's go out there and get the job done and then come back to town and get ready for a monumental game Tuesday night, stripe-out game against Duke inside the KFC Yum Center. If you go to ESPN.com and click on any of their college basketball pages, they've got a little banner already promoting that game Tuesday night between Duke and Louisville. So it's going to be, you're going to get a lot of attention for that one, and deservedly so. It's a big spot. I was glad that Duke did not spit the bid against Georgia Tech on New Year's Eve, because that was, they were down at halftime. It was a little bit close. For whatever reason, Georgia Tech just kind of, they suck in the non-con against the best teams in the ACC. They bring it. But Duke gets the win. They stay just once beaten. Hopefully Louisville can hand them that second defeat coming up in a few days. Game Day Men's Health text line is 502-414-1450. We'll get back to you momentarily. We do have one bowl game going on right now, Roman.
Do we?
We do. It is the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, and Texas State is kicking the ever-living crap out of a 5-7 Rice team that is somehow bowl eligible. It's 33-7 in the fourth quarter. We're 30 minutes away from kickoff in the Liberty Bowl between Navy and Cincinnati. We all know Scott Satterfield hates to see a academy in a bowl game. Do we think the midshipmen cover the 7.5 tonight against Cincinnati, playing without star quarterback Brennan Sorsby?
Yes.
I think they do too. I think Navy just beats the hell out of Cincinnati.
This is what you want to happen.
It's what I think's going to happen, and it's what I want to happen. It can be both those things. I watched Louisville with guys not opting out just get destroyed by Air Force in the Armed Forces Bowl a few years ago. Navy is a better team than Air Force. They're a better program than Air Force. They're going to just blitz these dudes. It's going to be bad. We also have the Holiday Bowl tonight on Fox. Arizona taking on SMU. ACC. And Wake Forest taking on a 5-7 Mississippi State team in the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
How are they bowl eligible?
They didn't have enough teams to make the bowl games. They started asking 5-7 teams.
Oh, maybe they should just get rid of the bowls.
You think you're going to turn down? You know what? Multi-million people will watch that game tonight, despite Mississippi State being 5-7.
I'm going to watch it.
They're not turning it down. That's why they're going to play these games. The Pop-Tarts Bowl got 8.7 million people watching this year. I saw that earlier today.
It's ridiculous.
It's absurd, but it's the way that it is. People love these bowl games. They love gambling on them. They don't care who's playing. It's football. Put it on TV. People are going to watch it. No question about it. It's also a decent night in college basketball. Louisville-Stanford is one of the better games, but you've also got a top 25 matchup between USC and Michigan, which is a Peacock exclusive. That's a terrible time for the Big Ten. Number 24 versus number 2. Iowa State's taking on West Virginia. And then a top 15 matchup that's also on Peacock. Number 13, Nebraska. Still unbeaten, Roman. Nebraska ball. They're taking on number 9, Michigan State in Lincoln. Nebraska's a 2.5-point favorite in those games. We'll make some predictions for those coming up at 5.5-point
favorites.
It's crazy. I was about to say, like, we've got Mondays with Dalton Pence coming up at 5:30 because I can't figure out what day it is.
I thought it was Sunday all day yesterday.
It's this is that time of the year. Unfortunately, it comes to an end on Monday. I love the time of the year where you're like, I don't even know what day it is. We got holidays, we had days off, we got every day kind of feels like a weekend day in some form. Unfortunately, though, we're back into to a rhythm starting on Monday. I hate the kids going back to school, traditional work. Not ready for it, but it's happening. Game Day Men's Health text line 502-414-1450. Let's get back to your thoughts here for this half hour. Texter says, Lazard guy here. unless you have the GOAT Signetti, the playoff bye is a death sentence because of a month off from football. It's crazy. Here's a New Year's resolution for the Louisville fan base. Stop crashing out online. It's not going to happen. Is Curt Signetti like the best hire in the history of sports? It kind of feels like it.
Probably. No, not yet. No, not yet.
I mean, he's up there. Like, Indiana football has sucked forever. It's not even been good. It's been terrible. And they go in the snap of a finger from historically terrible to 2 wins away from winning a national title. Somebody asked the question, like, what's the Curt Signetti? Who's the Curt Signetti of basketball? There isn't one, right?
Probably not.
I mean, we've had coaches go to places that have struggled historically and turn them into, NCAA tournament good teams. You had Chris Collins won a game at Northwestern who had never been to the NCAA tournament before. Like, that was a big thing. We've never had a guy take over a program that has been just like one of the 4 or 5 worst power conference programs for eternity and instantly turn them into a national title contender. People will say Brad Stevens at Butler's the closest thing. I mean, Butler's not – you can't compare Butler basketball at that time to Indiana football. I guess is the best. There has never been a Curt Signetti in college basketball. There's never been anything like this.
But what he's doing in the last year and this year is not greater than the first half of what Belichick did for New England. I'm not going to go best hire. Weren't the Patriots nobodies before Belichick?
Yeah, but it's the NFL, man. Like,
it's harder.
You've got a salary. There's a salary cap out there. You can go get players. And I guess now you have kind of a salary cap in college football. But like everybody has a run in the NFL. I guess besides the Lions.
His is a little different though. 20 seasons, no losing seasons from 2001 to 2019. That's insane.
I know, but I'm saying like every franchise in the NFL has the building blocks. Like, there are building blocks for everybody to be successful.
That's fair.
College football is not that way, or at least has not been that way. So, like, I don't know if this is if we're going to look at this as a byproduct of the new era, because there's still not really anybody else who's kind of doing that. Like Northwestern hasn't risen up the ranks to become a perennial national title contender. Kansas isn't out there. Like everybody's going to point to Indiana and say, well, why can't we do that? A big part of the reason is you don't have Curt Signetti. Like, he's proven that he's got the goods. It's unbelievable what he's doing right now. Texter says, Dave, teacher from Jeffersonville, is our football program okay? Oh, thank God Lubin is back. McNeely's going to get 15 points tonight. I feel it. Imagine my shock when I tune into the ReliaQuest Bowl game and there he is hurting my ears, the Vandy Whistler. He's the worst, the absolute worst. Did not hate seeing Diego Pavia go out with a loss either, especially after he was like, the Big Ten sucks. Like, your career ended with a loss to the Big Ten. You can't tell me there are too many bowls. We will never have enough Pop-Tart sacrifices, Prince Chedward triumphs, or inflatable pools full of Frosted Flakes. Never. Bowls forever. They're not going anywhere.
They're not.
Texter says Lazard. I already read that one. Texter had to get the lube out this morning. Lubing up for Lubin. I'm glad we get to keep making these jokes for another year. I'm more happy about just Clev being back. Getting your best defensive player back for another season is a huge thing.
Yes. He's the kind of culprit to your culture now going into next season for the football team. That's huge.
Plus,
versus
like
being
a
a guy
that
that
just wants to play.
Yeah, but he obviously felt like he showed he had to go prove it to the defense at the beginning of the season, and they kind of realized he was the best defender later on in the year. He gets to kind of lead by example from start to finish now. I think that could help, at least definitely the position groups, that the defensive line.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge deal. Plus, I think you saw his leadership develop over the course of the season. At the very beginning, you can't be like the vocal leader, the guy who's getting in everybody's face when you're a transfer from Coastal Carolina.
And it's against EKU.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can be, but he knew his place at that point. He was like, I got to go out there and prove myself. And you saw him as the season went on become more of that guy who's addressing the defense before games in the huddle, who's getting everybody fired up. Now you have a full offseason of that guy leading by example, showing the rest of the defense what you need to do. And he's a physical freak. So Like that'll help you out in the weight room. Getting him back, I think, was of paramount importance. It's like we talked about last week. Everybody likes to react more to the shiny new toy than the one that you're bringing back. If we had gotten a player of Clev Lubin's caliber in the portal, I mean, everybody would be losing their minds because, oh my God, look at he fifth most pressures in college football this past season, the most pressures a Louisville defensive player has ever had since the Pro Football Focus grading era has been upon us. But because he's a guy who's coming back, we're like, yay, and then we kind of move on. Getting him back is a huge deal. Now we've got to go get more guys back and bring in more guys. By the way, during the show, we found out that Corey Gordon is hitting the portal as well, a guy who played a lot of snaps for us in the secondary. Got to find somebody to replace him. Now, we're going to bring in a lot of newcomers coming on the defensive side of the ball, hell, and the offensive side of the ball, coming up over the next couple of weeks. Texter says, as I said before, if you aren't going to give Isaac his money, you deserve the 8-win season you're going to get because of it. Duke Watson is weird also. He had all those guys that obviously had issues with Louisville in the stands, throwing L's down and stuff at the Cal game, and he gave us no production on the field this year. The Duke stuff, I mean, I said it a month ago. We don't need to go into it. There was no chance of him coming back this year. Best of luck to him moving forward, but every time that Jeff Brom made some sort of vague statement about guys acting like they've arrived before they really have, I think a lot of that was directed towards Duke Watson. So, no shock there. Texas, I feel like for what Isaac Brown would cost us, we could get a damn good offensive line and a few affordable running backs for maybe a little extra. I don't want to go through another season of does he want to play or does he not want to play. Incredible back, but I have questions. I think this is where the staff is at this point. I think and I don't want to say that it was all reduced to one game changing everything. But I do think that them seeing what Louisville was able to do with Braxton Jennings and Sean Boykins against Kentucky was something of an eye-opener where they were like, if we had an offensive line that was able to create these types of holes against good teams, because Kentucky sucks, we don't have to have the best backs in the world to have a capable running game. Would we love to have Isaac back? Sure. But if it's between, hey, $5 million for Isaac Brown or $5 million for one of the best offensive lines in the country, maybe you lean towards the offensive line with some of the question marks that are surrounding Isaac. But I think it's still a decision that they're waiting to have played out. Texas, is there any truth to rumors about Greg Brom being incredibly disliked by certain coaches and other players? Hearing this a lot, but not sure if it's the truth. I mean, I saw parents tweeting about it during, I think, the Kentucky game. Who was one of the walk-on quarterbacks? His mom was very vocal about not loving Greg Brom. As far as other thoughts, I've got nothing on that front outside of the tweets that I've seen from players. By the way, that was someone's first text into the show, asking about his Greg Brom disliked. Maybe. Texter says, will Jeff have the biggest names that he is after at the Duke game on Tuesday? That should be used as a heavy recruiting tool, in my opinion. I think we'll have some recruits, some targets at the Duke game on Tuesday night. Texter says, Lions fan John, hey, Mike, would you prefer Lagway or Baby Mahomes? Lagway. Roman, who would you go after between those two?
I'm saying Lagway, too.
Yeah.
Matt Childers and Dalton Pence will make it out like we're crazy for saying that.
No, I don't think it's crazy at all. Also says, why is Greg Brom a terrorist who nobody wants to work with, and when they speak up, they get bleep canned? There's a clear problem in the program. Is this now a thing that's out there? We have two different texters saying the same thing. I'm assuming that this is being talked about somewhere else at this point. I've not heard if Mark Hagan's departure was at all related to issues with Greg Brom, or if that's the case with Ron English. Like, that's news to me. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying it's not something that I've heard. I mean, I know Greg can be divisive, but so can Jeff. And if it came down to, like, I would like to think, I know it's a family deal, but I would like to think that if somebody came to Jeff and said, hey, I've got an issue with your brother, I mean, Jeff's a pro. I would hate to think that it would be something as simple as, well, like, I'm going to ride for my brother, you're fired. You're gone. This is a business. I know you've got family loyalty, but you can't be firing guys if they've just got issues with family members. You got to work that out.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that that's the case. If it is, then I would have a problem with that. Wiener Dog Guy says, I didn't realize that you all were off the air on Wednesday, but definitely check my previous text. Your previous text was from December 22nd. So I don't have a text from you on Wednesday, Wiener Dog Guy. Let us know. Texas, aside from the terrible refereeing, it was an impressive performance on Tuesday. Our best case scenario would be Kansas 2022, North Carolina 2017, and Villanova 2016. All three had 2 non-conference losses those years. Love where your head is, Stallworth. We didn't really talk about the officiating. I mean, just how bad was it on Tuesday, Roman? 16 first-half fouls.
It was weird.
It was so weird.
It was weird. And then you got the classic ACC shift at halftime, where just not calling the same stuff that you were calling in the first half, not letting anybody to adjust.
Yeah. I think we did adjust a little bit in the second half. But most of it was them just changing the way they called the game.
I don't know what's up. I don't know what's up with us in these. I watch other games. It's like they're letting you hack at their hands. Mm-hmm. They're letting you on a loose ball like for rebounding. You can do whatever you want if it's 2 top 25 teams. When I'm watching them, when it's us playing though, it's a little different. And I'm not being truly serious, but in their last like 3 games, it's been weird.
I mean, there were a handful of foul calls where it's like, come on, but like there was contact, but like usually it doesn't get called. Then there were like 3 or 4 calls that just were completely phantom. There was one play where I think it was Sananda went up like straight up, came straight down with a rebound. There was no contact made whatsoever, and they called him for an over-the-back foul. The Zugras pulling the chair out from underneath the guy where he just backed up and the kid fell over, and then they called him for a foul. That was outrageous. There were 3 or 4 where it was just like there's no excuse for this whatsoever. The first half was more about, at least I thought, them calling it ultra tight on us, but not calling it ultra tight on Cal, which didn't really matter because we were making everything and they couldn't make anything. But for a while there, you're like, this is the 10th best free throw shooting team in the country. They're going to let them stay in this game. Like that's the best way to make up a 15-point deficit when you're playing one of the best offensive teams in college basketball is just keep getting to the line.
Yeah.
And thankfully that it ended up not hurting us. But for a while there, I was like, Jesus, like this feels overwhelmingly scary. Like, I don't like to do the conspiracy theory thing, but if you told me they had money on Cal covering the 8.5, I would not have been shocked. It was very weird. And then, like you said, second half, it just did the classic even it out thing. Texture says, any news on defensive coordinator assistants for football? Assuming there's some sort of plan in motion for Kleb to be locked in and to have plans to spend a big on the line, like you said. We got a lot of questions about defensive coordinator. All right, Roman, are you ready for me to do something?
Let's hear it.
I know who the defensive coordinator is going to be.
Don't do this.
I'm going to write it on a piece of paper, okay? I'm writing it right now.
And you're going to show the stream?
No.
Oh.
When I can't say anything. When the defensive coordinator news comes out, I'm going to have you open this piece of paper and show everybody. There's certain things I cannot say, Roman.
It's Mark Stoops.
Is it? Did I just write Mark Stoops' name on this piece of paper? I don't know, but we're going to put this somewhere safe. And when the defensive coordinator news comes out, you will read this on air and just show everybody how right I was, okay?
Okay.
But I can't answer any of these questions now. Super, super secret info, okay? Just letting you know. That's what we're doing. This piece of paper right here. I don't know if you can see it on the stream.
You have any idea on when we will get to know?
Say what?
You have any idea on when we will get to know?
No. No clue. No clue whatsoever. But yeah, we've got like 50. That's me answering all of your defensive coordinator questions here that are coming up on the text line. That's when we'll answer them, when we open that piece of paper. There you go. It does say something, though, that we got Clev Lubin locked back in with no knowledge of who his primary coach is going to be, right? Like, that's a guy who's all in.
Yeah.
That's a guy who wants to be a Cardinal. I love Clev, man. Like, you can build around guys like that. Talent, obviously, you've got to have it, but he wants to be here. He clearly loves this place. He's fully invested every snap, every game. I'm glad we got him coming back.
Big retain for us there.
Yeah. Texture says, it sort of feels like Brown is more concerned with his draft status than his current team winning. It definitely feels like his dad is.
You already read this, didn't you?
No.
Oh, I guess I did.
And I can understand that, but smart NBA GMs want players who are tough. Maybe his dad or agent or whoever needs to realize that this could land him with one of the lesser NBA organizations, which could damage his career. I mean, I think that nothing is going to limit his status as a lottery pick. He's already, while he hasn't played his best basketball yet.
Like a serious back injury.
Yeah, exactly. If he didn't play the rest of the season, he's still shown enough on film.
He's going top 15.
That he's going top 15. Could he improve his draft status by being great over the next 3 months? Sure.
Go number 1 still if he really wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, these teams are going to work him out, but it's very similar to Darren. It's not apples to Darren Peterson, because a lot of people think that he was like, Peterson's fighting for the number 1 pick, and him sitting out for a long period of time is absolutely affecting that, especially when you look at the way that DeBonce's been playing. Like, I thought going into the season, Peterson clear cut. You watch AJ DeBonce, like, he's better than I thought he was going to be right out of the gate. Like I see why people are talking about him being a absurd talent at the next level. I think Michael he's not seen as being in that big 3, that big 4. He was briefly, though. There were people talking about him potentially working his way up into the top 3, and that has kind of gone downhill. If you want to get back in that discussion, yeah, you're probably going to have to play. I don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. I hear the same rumblings that you guys hear. I know what's being discussed amongst the Trilly Donovan discords of the world. I know they're saying that it's at least partial. Like, nobody's saying that this injury is just made up out of thin air. Nobody's saying that. But there are those who are saying the dad is like pulling some strings, and just like the Darren Peterson situation, they're kind of telling him, like, let's just take it easy. Let's not play games we don't have to play. We'll come back when we're fully ready, when there's no pain whatsoever. And that's something new in college basketball. That's more of an NBA thing, but now professionalism is at the college level. Texture says, do you think Vince Marrow becoming the head guy has changed the philosophy of letting so many guys go? This is really his first season in charge and the first time in the football program that we've seen this type of exodus in the portal era.
No.
You don't think Vince is changing anything?
No. I think coaches are changing. I think that money is changing. I think that it's just a little bit more than normal. It's not even anything to be worried about, I don't think.
I can't say for certain. I mean, I think that there's
a lot of teams having the same exact thing happen.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's going to be. You were one of those types of programs that's going to have pretty huge turnover every single season. I don't know if the increase in turnover this year, or what looks like is going to be an increase in turnover this year, is attributable to staff changes or anything like that, or if it's just some of these guys we felt like were expendable, having a limited budget to go out there and piece together a roster. Now, I know we've had a couple of questions about the financials. There's some talk about, since Jeff and Josh started discussing things, they've doubled the NIL, or we've got a little bit more NIL. Some people saying we've got the same. I don't know. I think that we've got some additional funding coming in, more than we had a couple of months ago. How that stacks up against the rest of the country or even against the rest of the ACC, I can't tell you. But it does sound like we've got a little bit of extra money. But everybody else is getting their money up too. So we can't sit here, I can't sit here and not say that there, as an outsider, it doesn't feel like there are some things that are strange going on with football. Could be good strange, could be bad strange. The Ron English deal is weird, right? We talked about it at length at the beginning of the week. I think it's very weird that we haven't had an official statement from U of L still, 3 days later, after hearing that Ron English was stepping away for a year because he wants to watch his kid play football at Navy for his last season. That seems weird.
You don't step away from a year for a year at a job like at an ACC football job.
You don't. You also don't have that statement leak out via Pete Thamel and then have the school
not even have a graphic ready for you.
Not address it if that's the whole story. We also don't have a signed contract extension from Jeff Brom. We don't have all those details worked out yet. We've got weird portal stuff going on. It's like maybe this is all good, but it's tough for the fan base to feel overly reassured at this point when, we're coming off back-to-back 8-4 regular seasons, and now it's like we're looking for tangible proof that it's going to get better. I'm not saying that 8-4, 9-3 seasons, 10-2 seasons are anything for us to look down our nose at, but we want to be 10-2, 11-1, competing for spots in the playoff moving forward. We want to have reasons to believe that, and right now it's kind of like you're not giving us that. It's a little bit of concern. I get it. Maybe it's justified, maybe it's not. Let's take a break. Hour number 3 is up next. We'll continue to get you ready for tip-off against Stanford. We'll read texts. We'll make some predictions, then we'll call it a day. We're never scared here on the Big X. First game day of 2026 on the men's basketball side. And for us here on the radio station, Louisville taking on Stanford in about 3.5 hours out there on the West Coast. ACC Network has the television coverage. Cards and Cardinal. Louisville looking to move to 3-0 all time, 5-0 all time, I should say, in games against Stanford. They've never lost to the Cardinal. Louisville also looking to continue to build some momentum going into next week's showdown against Duke and start the new year off on the right foot. Welcome back in. It's hour number 3 of the Mike Rutherford Show here with Roman Kelly on a Friday edition. Want to remind you guys before we go back to the text line or talk about some other things that if you have been injured in an accident or on the job and it's wrecking the start of your 2026, the Collier Law Firm can help. Tony Collier and the crew. They all spent several years working for the insurance companies. They've got their playbook. They know how to use it. They're going to get you the most money for your recovery, and once they do, they're going to make sure that you keep the most money for your recovery, which is why their attorney fees start at just 25%. Give them a call today at 502-736-8141 or go online and visit them at collierlawfirm.com, COLYER lawfirm.com. Hurt in an accident, hurt on the job. Call your law firm. Roman's going to spend the last hour of today's show talking NBA. We're not going to do that. How are our Lakers doing?
They're doing all right. I mean, I say that because the Nuggets have 4 starters out on top of their backup big out. So they're the team above us. We should have the opportunity to gain some ground right there while Jokic is going to be sidelined for a few weeks. We did lose the Pistons, but, you know, it's part of it. New year now. Just can start things off with a fresh slate. What, tomorrow? Tonight, 10:30.
If we ever had management disputes where we're just trying to, like, piss our listeners off because we're pissed off about something, I would let you talk about the NBA for 30 minutes right now, and then I would just talk about the Colorado Avalanche and how, like, generationally good they are for the last 30 minutes. Just dive fully into Cale Makar, how good he is. Like Nathan McKinnon lighting it up in the shootout. Like, just do that. That would be wonderful, and people would be furious. It'd be great. We won't do it, though. There's too much stuff happening right now, and we love our bosses here. 502-414-1450 is the Game Day Men's Health text line. We'll get back to you guys momentarily, but things are happening on the football side of things, and I don't just mean at Louisville. Roman, we've got some sad news for our show specifically.
What?
That we have not gotten to today. I mean, you should know what I'm talking about.
I probably do.
We need to pour one out for a Mike Rutherford Show legend. And I think a Louisville legend as well. Roman, yesterday, the University of Kentucky announced, I guess they didn't announce it directly, but it was announced for them, that quarterback Cutter Boley is hitting the NCAA transfer portal.
We knew this was coming.
How do I say goodbye to what I won't do it anymore.
Quarterbacks go there and something just happens to them.
What if you retired? What if you became the third UK quarterback in the last 2 years? Just retired. Look, I mean, we've had a lot of fun with Cutter Boley. Mainly the fact that he's a local boy, and the fan base talks about him a certain way. And then he's gone out there and he's played like complete garbage against Louisville in 2 consecutive seasons and allowed us to kick their ass in 2 consecutive years. I'm going to miss this guy.
He was fun. He was fun to be a part of this season.
If he wants to come here and be like the third string quarterback, I'm fine with that.
You remember when he was their last the last hope? He was the last thing that could save Kentucky football. I enjoyed that.
You had one of the million UK fan sites out there, the Bleed Blue 6947, whatever it is, tweeting out there that he was single-handedly reviving the program. And he goes from that to getting shut out against Louisville and then hitting the portal because they're going to bring in someone better. If they get Sam Levitt, by the way, that's something we can't really scoff at. That's when you start getting a little concerned because that dude can sling it. But Cutter Boley.
I don't know about this Stein dude getting rid of Cutter. You should have brought Cutter back, so I don't know about this Coach Stein.
You're asking me to trust him, and he's telling Cutter to go somewhere else?
He clearly don't know quarterback play.
Look, I don't get paid millions of dollars to coach football, but that's strike one in my book. Strike one. That's one. He's a dual threat, you know. I'm going to miss Cutter. This is what happens, though, when you've got LaRue County in your blood. Sorry, Riddler.
He's going to go somewhere like UNLV and make the playoff.
He is not going to make the playoff. He's going to go somewhere like UNLV and be a backup is what's going to happen. Like I said, if he wants to take no NIL money and come here, follow the big dog, and be our third string, maybe backup, I'm good with that. We need some depth at the quarterback position. It's a lonely quarterback room right now. But if he wants like starter money to be a power conference quarterback, not really sure you've earned that at this point. I just love how it went from like all Kentucky fans 8 weeks ago were convinced that this was the one guy that they had to keep. Like this guy, he's the future of the program. And now it's like, we don't need him. And they might be right. But it's just revealing the hypocrisy of where they were mentally 8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Gameday Men's Health text line 502-414-1450. Let's go take some texts from you guys here. I thought I had something else to talk about, but now I've completely lost my train of thought. It'll happen. It's been a long holiday. It's Friday. What are you going to do? Riddler.
Got people texting me asking me who the defensive coordinator
is. Oh, I've got like 17 now. You'll find out when we open this piece of paper after the news. I can't tell. I can't say anything. Texter said, the Riddler texted in and said, hey, Rominator, the Riddler gets plenty of sex. Okay, this is Ask Mrs. Riddler. I didn't know there was a Mrs. Riddler. Mike, is the sky falling for our football program? No, not yet. Certainly seems that Josh hasn't secured NIL funding, and the exodus is indicative of that. I'm really disappointed we couldn't hold on to Mims and hurry. Deep down, I know IB was going to leave, but for some reason I had hoped that doubling our NIL support could keep him with a loyalty discount. I do think, we saw the Micah Carter stuff where he hit the portal, and then 24 hours later, the big dog's taking him out to dinner, and he's like, he's going to be great here next year. I mentioned Isaac Brown. The staff feels like there's a chance that they still could get him back. He's not the only one. Like, there are at least two that I've heard of. Players who are in the portal right now that I think could wind up returning to Louisville. This is part of the game now, Roman, where the agents for these players are coming to U of L, the ones that have been producing at least, the ones that played relatively big-time snaps and have some production numbers, and they're saying, all right, you paid us this last year. Now here's what we want. And so are you eating on air? Right into the microphone.
Was it?
What are you munching on?
Doodads.
It's still doodads again. Keep your doodad chomping away from the mic.
I didn't think you could hear it.
Oh, I can hear it loud and clear. I don't know if anybody else can, but I don't care if I can hear it. I just don't want anybody else to hear it. But I think there are players that they've come to U of L and they've said, or their agents have said, look, we want this level of increase. You paid us $250 last year. We want $1 million. And U of L is like, we're not going to do that. And now they're going out there in the portal. They're maybe going to have the case and prior experience where some programs are like, you're not really worth as much as you think you're worth. And they're ultimately going to come back to U of L and take the initial offer that was given to them. And U of L will say, cool, we want you back. No hard feelings. Let's go. I think there are a couple of other players that may do that. Now, it's not everybody. And there are a lot of names in the portal. So I'm not trying to say all these guys that are going in the portal, they're all going to end up coming back. I do think that multiple players will do that, will go that route, where they enter the portal, they see what's out there, and ultimately take the offer that U of L gave them during preliminary discussions. Texter says, this is Red Zeppelin, I want to see the cards adjust to how the game is being called tonight. Opponents have been getting in the bonus way too early. I do think we adjusted a little bit in the second half when we had so many guys that were in foul trouble and we knew that they were being
have an option.
Tight. Yeah. It was basically like, if you don't adjust, we may not have enough guys to finish this game. But, I think that's a fair point. Now, I don't even think that it was really the adjustment. Kobe Rogers is the one guy that I would look at and say, if you get called for the touch foul, you can't just go out there and attack the guy the same way. Like, Kobe just refuses to believe that referees are going to call him for the same thing twice in a row. He plays with reckless abandon on defense every single time, and I love it. But at some point, you do kind of have to be like, all right, we need you, Kobe. Without Michael, you can't just keep hacking. They're going to call it. This team, too, is one that you would like to see not get in the bonus that early. They're not nearly as good of a free throw shooting team as Cal is from top to bottom, but their best players do shoot the free throw.
Pretty ball handlers are 80% guys. So.
Texter says, I don't know if you mean I can, kind of understand PK's annoyance with injury questions towards Michael. It's a known injury. It hasn't resolved, It sucks, but oh well. I don't think he's justified to react that way when Kason Pryor is a complete surprise scratch. We have no idea if this guy is having his leg amputated, a new ACL tear, or something minor. Of course, fans want to know the answer to that. Also, Rain going to war for PK on Twitter was pure cinema. Have you seen Rain's tweets?
No.
Oh, he's going at the fans who are like criticizing Kelsey for the way that he's handled the injury questions. He's been, he pulled out a bazooka and was just going crazy on fans that were talking bad about PK. It's loyalty, Ro.
That is. I didn't realize that's.
Oh, yeah. Go back and check his tweets from the last, 3 days. He's been going at it. I understand why fans are annoyed. I understand why Pat Kelsey is like, I'm not going to talk about injuries. I agree with the texture, too, that the Kason Pryor thing is weird. And I think that his being so short with his response to Brooks' question about Kason Pryor was just strictly about him getting worked up over the answer to Michael and being like, well, I'm just not going to talk about injuries. That kind of just needs to be Kelsey's, I guess, if you're not going to get into it, then just say it every time you're asked a question about injuries. Like, I don't talk about injuries. It'll be annoying, but at least we'll have a standard answer at that point because, like I said earlier, reporters, it's in their job description. They've got to keep asking these questions when you've got key players that aren't seeing the court. You got to keep asking about timelines, how close is he? He practiced, what's going wrong? And those questions aren't going to stop. Especially, I liked that Eric Crawford pointed out in his story on WDRB.com. He made it a point to highlight the fact that, in a day and age where less and less media are covering games in person, Brooks Holton's out there in California. He's traveling across the country. The Courier-Journal's sending him out there. He's there in person asking questions at the post-game press conference. Anybody who's trying to vilify Brooks for asking the question that any legitimate reporter would ask after in that situation, I think is in the wrong. What?
I think it's lame.
It is lame. Brooks is a good guy. Good at his job, too. Texture says, betting money, who does U of L end up with at quarterback? Also, is there a chance UK ends up with a better quarterback and running back than U of L with the rumor of Levitt and Baxter? Sure. I mean, the Sam Levitt thing is interesting because you've got some reports out there that are like Arizona State and Kentucky are essentially swapping quarterbacks. People think that Cutter Boley might go to ASU, and there's some reports out there that Sam Levitt wants to go to UK, and then you've got Pete Nakos out there who are like, UK is not one of the top quarterbacks involved with Levitt. It's Miami, Oregon, and LSU. So how accurate are these reports? Who the hell knows? I mean, I don't know how anybody keeps up with this because everybody who covers college football at the national level recognizes the demand that's out there for portal knowledge. And the page view numbers are outrageous. The video clicks are outrageous. So everybody's going to be giving out intel, whether it's accurate or not. And it's so hard when you're not talking to the actual people with the program. It's super tough to get genuine info out of anybody because everyone's playing the game. The media's playing the game. The agents for these players are playing the game. The players themselves are playing the game. The coaches have to play the game. And it's led to a situation where we have less valid info out there than ever before. And I've said that, I try to pass along as much info that I feel 100% certain about to you guys as I possibly can. But there are times where, I'll hold back on saying something because even if it's coming directly from a coach or even if it's coming directly from the player himself, it might change in 3 hours.
It will change.
People talk about
change and then change back.
Yeah, people talk about terrible reporting out there when it comes to, so-and-so said they were going to return to school and now they're in the portal. What do you want the reporter to do when the player himself says, I'm staying at Vanderbilt, and then 2 hours later puts his name in the portal? Like, what better source can you have than the player or the player's agent? And sometimes it's all just a smoke and mirrors game. It is impossible to get valid info, and it's why the best course of action is just sit back and watch this whole thing play out, which I know nobody wants to do. I sure as hell don't want to do it, but It's the only way to know that you're getting reliable info is when it actually comes from the players tweeting out their commitment. Or
I don't even ask anymore.
I mean, people are like, have you heard some? I'm like, yeah, I've heard a million things. I don't know if any of it's true or if any of it's going to play out. Texter says, hey, Mark and Blowman, may your 2026 be as easy as Gonzaga's conference schedule. The Gonzaga hates starting early this year. Chris the Plumber's favorite New Year's tradition is to watch Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen host the ball drop on CNN. I think that's where we ended up watching the ball drop. I think we flipped it over. Like I said, we had like 2 minutes, watched the ball drop, gave Mary a quick little smooch, turned it back on the pit. Watched doctors saving lives or losing lives. Texture says, football is won by building inside, and our fans that don't like that or don't know that don't know a damn thing about football and would run a team like Jerry Jones.
The richest team. I get what he's saying, though.
Yeah.
I like it.
Texture says, I'm sick of Greg Brom. People in the know are saying he's driving players and coaches away. He has to be moved to a different role or fired. Please start the charge by. There must be, this must be a legitimate scuttle that's out there about, I kind of said I think on Tuesday's show, if Greg Brom is the one who's in charge of handling the clock management at the end of halves,
then get him out of here at this point. It's been 3 years of you doing your job poorly.
Yeah, I don't want him to have that role anymore. If that is in fact the case, I think that you've got whoever is in charge of handling the clock duties at the end of both halves has done a poor job.
They need to be fired.
And if it's just Jeff himself, then he needs to hire somebody to handle that type of deal because it's cost us.
They need to be fired and removed from the field. Don't even get them anywhere near that headset.
But I didn't realize there was all this Greg Brom is running players away scuttle that's out there. If that's true, then maybe we need to look
get
at
him
that
out of
too.
there.
But I can't speak of that to any sort of any sort of degree. Texture says Papa J and Dirk. Oh, Papa J and Dirk. Look, we got a picture of Papa J.
Hey,
and a little cutie rocking U of L gear. Shout out to Dirk. It's a beast, looking great.
Shout out to Papa J.
Shout out to Papa J. We love Papa J. Papa J also says, my son has shown me how to watch you guys on YouTube, and I'm loving it.
It's ruined today.
Say bad day for this to be your first look at the YouTube stream. I agree. As I've said before, you go with the big guys up front. That will give you Mike Rutherford 4 seconds or better and give Roman Kelly 4 yards every time he touches the ball. It's a win-win situation.
We'd be a nice pairing back there.
Are we being typecast, though, as quarterback, running back?
Probably.
I mean, I did play quarterback growing up, but that was limited to freshman year of high school. I loved watching then coach watch basketball ball team against Cal the other night. I thought we were very locked in, looking for more of that tonight. My goal for 2026 is to meet you and Roman. Maybe I can make the trip to one of your live remotes. Great job, guys. And as always, have a great rest of your show from Papa J. We got a couple remotes coming up next week, right? Where we've got.
Yeah, we do.
We're in J-Town at Window World next Friday, January 9th.
Well, is that?
No. Apparently, no, we're at the fairgrounds.
In the Window World booth.
In the Window World booth at the KY Expo Center for the Louisville Home and Garden Show. Yeah, this is kind of crazy. I think this is the third different station where I've hosted a sports radio show at the Home and Garden Show at the Expo Center. It's kind of cool. Like I love the way that it's set up. It's just an odd spot, I feel like, for a sports radio show to be done, but clearly there's demand there. So we'll be out there if you want to go to the KY Expo Center next Friday.
I'm throwing a Super Bowl party, Papa J. You can come to that.
We've never had issues with remote shows on Friday before, so who could guess that maybe something will go wrong? I'm sure it'll be totally fine. Texture says, I don't know what's more annoying. The fans that self-destruct after every minor character from this team enters the portal, or the fans that think a regular season Miami victory for U of L is still important to champion on January 2nd, 2026. What about if they win the national title? We beat the national champs.
Makes it even worse.
I have that thought as well, where in hindsight,
you could be playing in the college football playoff.
Yeah,
right
like,
now.
we were basically like, I hate to keep doing it. We're like 2 wins away from having the opportunity to be Miami, which there's no way we beat Ohio State with Miller Moss at quarterback and some of the other things that we had going on. But watching that Miami team the last 2 weeks, I assume all of us have had the same thought, which is how the hell did we beat those guys? I mean, we talked about the game plan. It was a brilliant game plan, getting the ball out quickly. But still, had Isaac Brown as healthy as he's been all season long. To be able to run the ball on them the way that we did, and then see a team like Ohio State or Texas A&M just not be able to do anything offensively, it's amazing. We did it on their home field when they were widely seen as the best team in football. To go down there and pull off that feat, like, it was remarkable, and it's becoming only more remarkable as the months go on. And it's also making those losses to Cal and to Clemson, I think, hurt more and be less explainable, which sucks. Having said that, like, I still think that there's value in having those types of wins. In the moment, beating Miami was like the most fun we've had from a football game since like the 2023 Notre Dame game. Like, everything became possible in that moment. It still was great. It made it hurt a lot more when you watch that team go out there and play the way that it did against Cal. I mean, the Cal loss is one of the most painful losses that I think I've experienced as a fan on the gridiron ever. Like, it was terrible just because it seemed like we had everything to play for, and there was no excuse to lose that team, and it happened in the most just ridiculous of fashions, and it wiped away everything. The Clemson loss was almost more unfathomable, but you felt like you had less to play for at that point, so it hurt less. Go ahead. I thought you had something you wanted.
No, I did. I changed. I don't have anything to add.
You're going to call out Jeff Brom, and you just chose not to.
Okay, maybe.
Patrick Ryan's telling you to not invite listeners to your Super Bowl party.
Papa J can come.
Papa J can come to any party that I throw. Papa J's invited to. Texas, I know Nick Saban regrets not being able to hire Jeff Brom, but at this point, Brom should also have some regrets about not working for Saban. Having that experience could have made him an infinitely better coach.
I was thinking about that watching the Ole Miss coach yesterday. Just like, if you're Jeff Brom watching this right now, what are you thinking? First 2 games as a coach, he's won 2 CFP. I mean, I get it's circumstance, but he's got to be feeling like he's got more ability as a coach than most of these guys.
I mean, I have that same thought too. Like, I think Mario Cristobal, Mary does the classic thing when she watches sports with me, where she's like, "Do you like that guy?" Or like, "Do you like, how do you think about this?" And like, when Miami won on Friday night or Wednesday night, my days are all jacked up. When they won Wednesday night, Mary's like, "Do you like that guy?" And I was like, "He seems like a nice enough guy. I think he's a moron." And she's like, "Well, how is he that good then?" I'm like, "Because he's got, they have infinite money down there." And she was like, "Well, do you think that they would be just as good if they had Jeff as their head coach?" And I was like, "I think they'd be better." I think from an X's and O's standpoint, and I know there's something to be said about the ability to manage personalities and manage coaches and do all that, deviate responsibilities, delegate responsibilities, and all that well. I still think that Jeff is a better coach than Mario Cristobal. And I think if you gave him the same roster, Miami would be even better. I could be totally wrong about that. Maybe it is a personality thing. Maybe Miami wouldn't be in the playoff with Jeff Brom. Maybe they would have lost to Texas A&M. But it's always been more about the Jimmies and Joes. Always been. You can't, I mean, Rick Pitino says this every time you put a mic in front of him now, where he's like, it's about the players. Bad coaches can ruin teams with good players. But great players can elevate coaches that have no idea what they're doing. And I think maybe you see that in football. I mean, like you've got Lane Kiffin gone. You've got half their coaching staff with a foot and a half out the door. And Ole Miss is still out there beating a team in Georgia that after the events earlier in the day became the betting favorite to win the national title. And that had already beaten them earlier in the season with Kiffin and a fully intact coaching staff. You got to have the dudes.
Yep.
Texture says, Ken Palm has added average 2-point distance. I saw Chris Hadfield point this out, which I think is great. A great development for us. We're currently number 10 offensively and number 9 defensively. Yeah, we shoot this was Pat Kelsey's philosophy when he got the job. Take a lot of threes, take a lot of shots right at the rim. The numbers are bearing that out. When we take shots inside the arc, we're taking really good shots. I thought Frew played really well on Tuesday.
I did too. And I like letting him be a decision maker down on the block.
He's really coming along. And I think there will be teams left on our schedule, including the one next Tuesday, that will be super challenging for him. But against teams without that dominant inside presence, I think Tuesday night was one of those teams. I think tonight is one of those teams. He's more skilled than most of the big men he's going to be going up against. And I think that you're going to see that show more and more as he gets more confident, more acclimated to the college game. And this was his first double-double, 10 points, 14 rebounds. You heard
that surprised me.
That he hadn't had a double-double yet?
Yeah, I thought he
I looked it up after I heard it after the game. I was like, I think he'd been close a couple of times. There've been a couple of 10.8 rebound performances.
Was there any 8.10 rebound performances?
He had a couple where he had he had the rebounds down but didn't have the points.
Okay, I was gonna say there's no way this is his first time getting 10 rebounds.
No, I think that was now I've got to look it up real quick, and I know we're up against the break. He had I take it back. I was wrong about that. He had a couple games where he had the points but not the rebounds. This was his first game with more than 10 rebounds.
Wow.
Kind of crazy. His previous high this season had been 8. Nuts. He's getting better. That's scary for the rest of the conference. Let's take a break. We're ready. Last segment coming up next. We'll run through the text line, then we'll make some predictions. Keep it locked right here. It's the Rutherford Show on the Big X. First one in 2026. Let's go, baby. Here we go now. Game day! Final segment here of the Friday edition of the Mike Rutherford Show. Feels so good to have it back. Although we just did this 3 days ago. I'm choking here. We just did it 3 days ago, but for the first time in 2026. Game day edition of the show. Game day final segment as Louisville gets ready to take on Stanford in Palo Alto. The Cards looking to pull off the West Coast sweep and then come back home with a fully intact perfect conference record before the Duke Blue Devils come to town for a stripe out on Tuesday night at the KFC Yum Center. We'll make our final predictions for tonight's game coming up momentarily. Got about 20 minutes for your thoughts to be heard on the radio, either on the Game Day Men's Health text line at 502-414-1450 or on the YouTube channel at Big X Sports Radio. Is it Ghost? It's Ghost Roman and Ghost Mike. You can't see either one of us. It's just the same. We have there you go. Roman's back now. We had the camera there. It was just showing the empty microphone there for a while. Yeah. Let's read a couple of the YouTube comments, since apparently we had a flicking camera with me, which added to the Ghost vibe. That's pretty cool. Someone notes that Akpara was the one who passed to Chucky for the game-winning shot in the ACC tournament last year. Felt good. That was one of the weirdest game winners in Louisville history, but one of the sweetest. Finally got to a conference tournament semifinal, thanks in large part to Chisholm Akpara.
What happened?
Remember the last possession of the Stanford game?
I thought it was an inbound play.
No. We ran the clock down. Terrence took a very off-balance, bad shot from the top of the key.
Oh.
The Akpara kid got the rebound.
And threw it out to Chucky?
Yeah, and somebody, I think it was Noah, got a hand on it. Kind of a risky play, call foul, but jarred the ball a little bit loose, and then Akpara still tried to pass it and ended up throwing it right to Chucky.
Top of the key, pretty much, right?
Left. Inside the arc. Caught it and took the little mid-range jumper and knocked it down at the buzzer, and we won by 2. It's a crazy sequence of events. And remember
Oh, that's right. It was a loose ball. He fell to him with just enough time to catch it and get the shot off.
And everyone got all mad at the announcer who was like, "No!
That's right.
No!"
Yeah, he was betting that night.
Cart Scott 5 says, I don't know if you guys have talked about this yet, but I saw some VJ King comps thrown around for Roman's boy. Roman, what are your thoughts?
I don't like that.
I mean, they're different players. They also came in, I think, with different levels of expectations. VJ was the McDonald's All-American.
He's a 5-star.
Say what?
Wasn't he a 5-star?
I think in some services he was. I mean, he's a McDonald's All-American. Yeah, Kanai was not.
3-star. I think a couple places maybe had him in a 4-star.
I mean, I can see the similarities in their game. Kanai's a little bit bigger. I think Kanai's also more athletic.
Both kind of tentative in moments you don't want them to be.
I think struggle handling the ball, too.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Which is, a little bit more unacceptable for VJ because the ball was in his hands a little bit more. But Kanai needs to be, every time he gets within 6 feet of the basket with your wingspan and your stride and your size, I'm going to keep saying it, you need to be getting clean looks around the rim. You're a hooper.
I agree.
You have a soft touch. Go out there and show it.
Bills fan 3518 says, B-ball is so irrelevant nationally outside of 1 month. We have to be relevant in football. B-ball is 10% of the importance of football. Not here. I mean, you can preach that message nationally. It's certainly true for athletic departments and their financials. But look.
And the 5-star freshmen in basketball don't care anymore.
You saw what happened here when we were really bad at basketball. It affects the whole community. Basketball in Louisville is different. There's no question about it. Louis Gregor says, how can you watch these playoff games and that be your conclusion? None of these are competitive games. I mean, last night's game was wildly competitive.
Ole Miss, that was the best football game I watched all season long.
Incredible game. Miami, Ohio State was definitely competitive as well. Oregon, Texas Tech was boring as hell.
But even within that game, it's like, okay, Texas Tech, Oregon's keep giving you an opportunity here. They keep giving you an opportunity to go gather some momentum, and they just couldn't do it. I mean, that one had the opportunity, I think, to be better than it was. They just offense wasn't ready.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of the 4 quarterfinal games and 2 of the 4 first-round games were very competitive.
Bad.
Yeah, I mean, the semifinal games in the playoff for years and years and years were not competitive when it was a 4-team playoff. So sometimes teams get stomped. Sometimes they don't. I mean, I think the playoff is still again, I'm not even saying it's like a net positive for the overall sport, because I do think that there are things that have happened because of the playoff that make the sport less great. But the playoff itself is great. I'm excited about the semifinal games. I mean, I guess we're rah-rah ACC with Miami. Is there any part of you now that's like getting behind Indiana?
No, not even a little bit.
I want them to beat Oregon.
I want them to lose miserably.
I'm torn between, I've always wanted this type of story in college football because it felt so impossible. Like, college football was always a caste system where these same group of like 15 teams are the only ones that are legitimate teams that can win national titles. And Indiana's never been close to that group, and now here they are.
Cool. Neither has Miami, really.
Yeah, Miami. Are you kidding me? Miami's had like 2 different instances where they've been the dominant program in college football for an extended period of time.
Not lately, though. Not in 20
like
years.
20 years, but still, like, they've had that moment.
25 years.
Yeah, since like 03, 04 was kind of the end of that second U run. We should have beat them in 04. But like they've had their moments for sure. Indiana has never been close. Ever been close.
Yeah.
And I think it would be kind of cool, but also like I don't want them to do it. I don't want them to be the team. They're 2 hours up the road. They paid us millions of dollars to not play us the last 2 years. Are we the last non-Big Ten power conference team to beat Indiana? We have to be, right?
They don't play any, yeah.
I mean, they don't play. I mean, Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference, and they beat them last year.
I'm sure there's one.
I don't think so, man. I mean, last year they lost one game the whole season before the playoff, and it was to Ohio State, and then Notre Dame beat them. We played them in 2023.
They probably lost to Duke or something.
No, it's us. They were bad in 2023. They went 3-9, but all of their losses besides to us were Big Ten. We're the last non-Big Ten power conference team to beat Indiana.
Wow.
Just put it. Okay, let's start adding up all the attributes here.
Just randomly thought of that too.
Yeah, so we're the last non-power conference team to beat Indiana. We beat Miami, who's in the semifinal. What was the other thing that we had going on? Like basically, we're the best program in college football. When you add up all these things, we're the best program in college football. We're the only program that has multiple MVPs in the NFL that have won it more than once. We got Tyler Shuck starting in the. We're the best program in college football right now.
We had the longest active streak of 24-plus point games.
That's very true. Longest active streak of holding teams to 21 or less before the Stanford game. I mean the Cal game. Just saying. A lot of signs pointing in the same direction, which is there's no program right now better in football than Louisville.
A lot of signs to me saying that you've got the right money. You're just picking the wrong guys.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's where we are right now. No excuses anymore. Texture says, do we think Lane Kiffin is tapping that old Kim Mulkey you-know-what? 509. It's always the last
like
segment.
We didn't even get a text like that in the group chat today.
When the text line is more vulgar than the group chat, then
we y'all see Lane Kiffin went to the game and saw that LSU get gamed by UK or whatever. Like, that was like the line about that. That's, the text line never fails.
It never fails. I mean, I think that she's about like 40 years too old. Maybe like 60 years too old for Lane Kiffin based on his.
I do think it's funny. I had a point today, and I was like going to bring this up, and I told myself, no, none of this matters. But because it got brought up naturally,
okay,
I just think I look back to that last exit interview he gave, or I don't remember if it was the last exit interview or the first entry interview for LSU or the last one for Ole Miss. But he says, and it's not about the money. None of this is about the money. I told my agent I don't even want to know the number on the check because none of that matters to me. And then it comes out yesterday that he made LSU sign up to pay him for everything that Ole Miss wins in the college football.
That's right. That's right.
Dude,
He got paid because Ole Miss won last night.
like $500,000. That's absolute, or $250,000.
That's right, yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous that he's just going to go out there every time he gets a microphone and say, none of this was about the money. None of this was about the money. Yet at every turn, you've ensured that you're making more money.
Nuts.
Signing up to, it's like you knew they were going to win games. You knew you weren't going to be able to process it. And you needed something from it.
It's crazy. Texture says, Happy New Year's. I've read about how Michigan isn't just beating their opponents by 20-plus points, but beating the spread by 20-plus points per game. They're minus 22.5 against USC tonight.
I want to take it.
That seems like an overreaction. What's your take?
I like USC to cover.
I think USC stinks. And I think Michigan is very, very good, and they are killing teams.
Except Wake
but
Forest.
That is such a, that's a huge line. Ken Palm has them winning by 19.
They're going to cover. They're going to be up. They're going to be up that much at halftime.
I mean, USC has sucked in Big Ten games where they have to leave the West Coast the last, from last year. 22.5. This is a stay away from me. If I were betting, though, I would bet USC. Just because 22.5 is just too much. They're a nationally ranked team. I don't think they should be. But they're a top 25 team.
They were up. They were down 5 to Maryland at halftime and beat them by almost 20.
They're outrageously good. Outrageously good.
Maryland's not good, but
no.
Still.
Texas also, how much is Navy beating the Fighting Satterfields by? They've already scored, bro. I told you they were covering. I don't know why I just didn't load up the DraftKings account and just bet $500 on this.
That would have been a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to. I would have had to have added about $498 to the DraftKings account right now to make that bet. Navy's up 7-0. They were 7.5 point favorite. They're winning by at least 8. I'll tell you that much right now. Although Cincinnati's moving the ball a little bit right now. Navy's going to win this game by double digits. Texas Mike, your text line is being used by snakes to disseminate anti-Greg Brom propaganda. Is this a concerted effort to take down Greg Brom from the text line?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Undercover agents just out there just trying to out.
They got to start the chatter. This is like Vince Marrow stuff right here. We'll text into the text line. Let's create this now via the Mike Rutherford Show. We'll have him out of here by now.
I feel like this is happening. I feel like we're pawns. We're being used here for anti-Greg Brom propaganda.
There's a bigger picture here. There's people pulling strings. We're just the puppets.
Chris Palmer says we definitely need Zoo at tight end or linebacker. Okay, I saw this take multiple times during Tuesday night's game. I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world.
Okay,
that maybe Vangelis Zugris has a better future on the gridiron than he does the hardwood.
He doesn't know what first down means.
It doesn't matter. I'm not sure he knows what pick and roll means, and we got him out there playing basketball right now.
He knows what rebound means.
I mean, Zugris I can't take my eyes off him when he's on the court. I can't watch anything else.
He purposely got that loose, slightly smaller jersey, slightly smaller shorts.
It's huge.
Because he knows it. He knows that you have to look at him when he's out there.
He's a Greek god, and he's out there just throwing people around, whether he gets called for it or not. He doesn't care. I was pretty upset when he got the technical foul.
Yeah, I didn't.
I think it was a flop.
Third this year.
It was a flop, but he definitely was he did not need to push him going for the ball. That was a rough moment. It was a terrible time. By the way, if that official falls for that Javon Hadley offensive foul attempt, that could have gotten really dicey. They had all the momentum. It was down to 11. If Hadley gets called for the charge there, we're in a little bit of danger zone. Thankfully, they didn't call it. We get the bucket, and then we get the little loose ball the next possession that Woolley lays back in. And after that, it was.
I was thinking
done.
about if you're a Cal fan watching that.
Oh, I would have been pissed. They were calling that all game.
Yes,
and
I would have been so aggravated. I started laughing. I started laughing aloud watching it.
Just swallowed the whistle there. Yeah. Texas Michael had a pretty good growth spurt. Back pains aren't that surprising. That's a good point. I'll say it again. But the back pains are real. That is a very real thing. The severity of them,
that's my
I
thing.
think is what's up for discussion.
Full go at practice? I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Full goes at practice can play in a game.
Yeah. You list him as probable. That means you think he's going to play.
I know what's happening here. I'm not going to say it. We all know what's happening here.
You think the dad's telling him not to?
Yes. He knows his kid's too small. He knows he hasn't put the weight on that he needs to yet. He doesn't need him going out there and potentially making this injury serious because he doesn't need a Michael Porter Jr. situation.
So you don't think it's just
I think
the dad is saying, like, we don't need to play against Cal and Stanford.
I think this is dad full on saying we're not going to be Michael Porter Jr. 2.0.
Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's what's going on. I do think it's notable that he has sent many tweets kind of comparing Michael's numbers to the other big freshmen. Like, he's very aware of that discussion and all that's going on. I'll be very surprised if Michael doesn't play against Duke, right? Like, it feels like they want to make sure that he's ready to go for the Duke game.
That's kind of what it feels like, especially him not playing tonight.
It's dangerous to take a month off and have your first game back against Duke, but yeah. Texas, he says probable also means he might not play. Yeah, but in college sports lingo,
we know what it means.
You never see kids listed as probable and then have them not play.
If he genuinely might not, it's typically questionable.
We saw it in football all year long. If a player was listed as probable on the initial injury report, there was a 100% chance that they were playing on Saturday.
And it's because they weren't a full go at practice, but were feeling better.
Yeah, you knew that you were going to
play.
The
opposite going on here. No, he's not good enough to play, but he can practice. It's all good. He's not fully practicing then.
Texas Mike was frozen on the YouTube feed. Roman's pick is so clear that you can see the doodads in his teeth. I'm starting to relate to Roman Hater.
Welcome to the team.
I don't need to be clear. Texas, I think Kelsey's answer reflects his frustration with the situation. I think that's where you are. I'm where you are is what I'm trying to say. He's not going to specifically air his frustrations with the player or his camp. Combine that answer with his comments to Bob about McNeely over there with a sprained ankle, doubting fluids because he's cramping up, but he plays 38 minutes, or Javon out there dinged up playing 31 minutes, or Kobe giving it all out there emptying the gas tank. He's frustrated. He's just not going to air publicly in regards to a specific player. That's exactly what I think is happening.
That's another thing that Pat's going to have to learn how to deal with in coaching.
You're exactly right.
5-star stuff.
If you want to go after these players
of the world,
if you want to keep going after, and we talked about this going into the season,
I think
he's never dealt with this.
It's kind of a guard thing a little bit too, and also kind of a bit of like a lottery pick who's not a solidified top 3 pick as well. You know, they're trying to gain as much control of that narrative as possible.
I think every head coach, whether they try to avoid doing this or not, they see things with their players through the lens of their own playing experience to a degree. And for Pat Kelsey, he was the type of guard throughout his career where he was like, I'll die. I got to get it out of the mud. Yeah, I'll play with a broken leg out there. I'll play with a broken collarbone. I'm diving for whatever I've got to dive for on the floor. I'm doing whatever I've got to do to help my team win. That's his mentality. And I think he can't, like the other things that are going on now with players maybe not playing through it, like he can't relate at all. And it's got to be wildly frustrating for somebody who preaches toughness and culture and all these like little things to make his program so good, and who's had players that have always embodied that at Winthrop and Charleston. This is entirely new to him. If it's frustrating for us as fans, imagine how frustrating it is for him as a head coach.
And we're not saying Michael's not tough.
No, not at all. I think Michael wants to play.
But he's dealing with a player now who Michael's toughness and what he believes in himself is not what takes precedent over what's happening, like you do when it's just regular players. He has to deal with everything that the Michael camp believes is happening with Michael, as well as what he needs to be happening for his team and his culture. It's a battle. I would not succeed at it.
For Pat, it's always been straightforward. If a kid is practicing full go, and if the trainer is saying he's good to play, they've always played, right? Like you don't have kids that are like, at Winthrop who are like, I don't know, maybe give me one more game. And now having to deal with this for the first, it's new to him.
I think Jeff kind of had to deal with it a little bit too for the first time.
I think you're exactly right. And Kelsey and Brom have a very similar mentality. They both grew up as guys that were, I think, Jeff was a more talented football player than Kelsey was a basketball player, but they both had the whole, like, we would rather die than lose a game if we're healthy enough to play.
They knew they weren't the most talented guy on the field.
Right. They've always been about toughness and an old school mentality and all this stuff. And I think for both of them, this brave new world is more jarring to them than it is for a lot of head coaches out there, and it's jarring for just about everybody. But I do think that the frustration with his answer was largely based on he's like, I think Pat Kelsey's like, I don't know what I can say at this point when it comes down to this.
My thing is, though, Pat, you knew what you were getting into. Maybe you didn't directly, but you've heard, you've seen, you've watched. You don't need to take your frustrations out on the people asking. That's all.
I agree with you there for sure. Texas, given that Stanford's not as big as they were last season, this is a decent one to start Hadley at the 4 spot. Agreed. Duke on Tuesday is a total no-no. I agree. I think Hadley will start, but you could really use Kenai playing well in that game against Duke. Am I wrong, or did Kenai play really well in one of the Duke games last year? I feel like he played well in the game at the beginning of the season.
I mean, if he did, it was only for a half.
Yeah, well, yeah, if that. Texas, looking back at the Miami game, it shows how good Isaac Brown and Chris Bell are, in my opinion. Very fair. Along with the talent we had on defense, Coach Brahms says it a lot. We are close. I hope we can keep IB. You're not wrong.
He does say that a lot.
Our most talented players stepped up.
We're close. We're right there, we think.
I mean, we were like 3 plays away from winning 3 of the 4 games that we lost. SMU we got destroyed in. Of course, we also were just a handful of plays away from losing a couple of the games that we won. So there's definitely that. Texas, Happy New Year and happy birthday to your wife, Mary Rutherford. I'll be gifting her a lifetime subscription to Hogs Plus. I mean, why? Thankfully, she doesn't listen to the 5 o'clock hour, but come on. Texas says, oh, now you all have modesty. This is the most modest radio show in Louisville. What are you talking about? Texas, point guard Woolley is fun. Do we have enough money to keep Woolley for a year, too? I'm not even going down this road. I was texting with somebody about all this stuff yesterday, with all the transfer portal stuff in football, and I was like, I know it's going to have so much of the spotlight for the next couple of weeks. I can't wait until it's over, and we can just focus on like 2.5 months of pure basketball, right? Like, we know the guys that we have. We know what the team is. We know they're good enough to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. I'm glad to just be able to focus on that and not think about who are we bringing in next year, who might leave. I need to turn my brain off from that and make it at least about the games for some portion of the athletic season.
It's funny you only get like October, November of that for football, really just November. And then you only really get January and February in basketball.
Well, I think the portal season starting later in basketball makes it a little bit easier because teams like us, I don't think we'll have issues with talk about that like during the NCAA tournament. But in football, it just it dominates the conversation so much. Basically, after September, I mean, we had it this year. Like, why is Isaac not playing? Why is Duke not playing? What's going on here?
If Adrian Woolley continues on the rate that he's been on of his improvement,
I want to pay him.
I don't know if he's staying in college.
That's the other thing too. Like, keeping him in Louisville and away from other college programs is one thing. He keeps this progression going.
He could make it into
he's
the
going to be
first round.
He's going to be on some draft boards. He already was at the beginning of the season, and now he may be doing it. Texas hashtag Greg out. I love Adrian Woolley, by the way. Like, I
love him. I think
he's my favorite player on the team.
Rashawn mentioned it in the Running with Roman show. I think he'll be one of the 2 or 3 best players on this team at the end of the year. I think he kind of already is.
He's certainly progressing that way. Although, once again, like, we're swooning over the way that he played. It's like Ryan Conwell's out here just scoring 26, and we're like, yeah, but it's Conwell. Of course he's scoring 26. It's what he does. Like, he's getting the Chucky treatment now where we're just taking him for granted way too much. And if he goes out there and only scores...
He had a good game, couple bad shots, but ultimately he did his thing.
Just cool 26.
Most efficient night in the ACC.
He's going to score 12 against somebody good at some point. And everyone's going to be like, is there something wrong with Ryan?
Ryan Conroe didn't do anything last night.
Have we overstated how good he is? He's not even doing anything because he didn't score 23. We probably need to stop doing that. And I put myself in that category as well. All right, let's pick some games tonight. Fox, 8 o'clock, Arizona SMU in the Holiday Bowl. SMU's a 1.5-point favorite. Is it another ACC win, Roman?
It is.
ACC.
Jennings playing?
ACC. Oh, he's playing. ACC players don't opt out. We love except for the ones that do. But CJ Bailey's going back to NC State.
I did. That's huge for them.
Dave Doran. Darian Mensah going back to Duke. I mean, look,
Well, you knew.
quarterbacks just want to stay in the
Everybody
ACC.
else was going to pay him.
They all just want to stay in the ACC, Roman. That's all it's about. All right, real quick, tonight, our game, 8 o'clock, Louisville-Stanford. Cards 8.5-point favorites. No Michael Brown in all likelihood. Do they sweep the West Coast trip?
They do. Cards get the job done tonight. A bit of a back-and-forth first half, I think, just because of some potential foul trouble or interesting foul calls and not being able to play at the pace we'd really like to, which Stanford doesn't actually play all that slow.
They don't.
We're going to win by the 15-plus. They're going to try to run with us. They don't have the shooting for it. I think we're going to box up Mr. Okuri and go out there and get the job done. I mean, yeah, I think we win by, honestly, like 16 or 17 points.
I like it. I'm going to say Louisville 84, Stanford 69. How about that?
I like that.
Ryan Conwell, leading scorer again. A very average 23 tonight against the Cardinal. All right, everyone have a fantastic weekend. We're back on Monday. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about then as well. Until then, let's go Cards, baby.